This is quite a group tonight. I'd like to thank everybody for taking time out of their Tuesday to be with us, and for those who can't be here but are tuning in remotely, thank you. Michelle, do we have any agenda changes this evening?
I do have a couple things. I had the addition to items for board action, which was K, the approval of a physical education plan. And I did provide the board with a hard copy of updated personnel report. There is some updates and there is a two-sided. Put that out as well.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Anyone assembled here this evening wishing to address the board on agenda-related public comment? Things that we're voting on or taking action on this evening? No? Michelle, do we have any communications? All right, we're going to move right into board and staff reports. And I'm going to turn it over to our athletic director, Mr. Mike Morning.
Good evening, members of the Board of Education and the Watertown City School District Executive Team. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share some exciting highlights from our high school athletic program. It's always a privilege to celebrate the dedication and accomplishments of our student athletes and their coaches. And tonight, I'd like to introduce a few exceptional individuals who have brought pride to our school and community. First, let me introduce the 2024 boys lacrosse team led by their outstanding coach, Brian Navarro.
Thank you. We appreciate the recognition. This was last year was a phenomenal year, the best we've ever had, making it the furthest we ever had to the sectional finals. We had 9 seniors that graduated last year, not with us today, but they were a great group. We were a great family. It was a bunch of guys that cared more about the team over their individual accolades. They worked really hard. We had a lot of fun. And we just did it together. It was our 5th straight Frontier League title. Second year, we went undefeated in the Frontier League, and the furthest we ever made it again to the sectional finals, which for the boys lacrosse team, it was amazing. It was an amazing year on the field, off the field. Everything was just great. You know, we had our tailgates and our team dinners and, some community work that we did. Just an awesome group that got together, and it made it fun for the coaches and parents and everybody. So we thank everybody for the support. I mean, throughout the year, the athletic department with Mike and Dell and Joanne, they do a ton of good things for us. They were really great last year. The send-off we had before the sectional finals, I mean, that was quite a scene if you weren't there. And we are on point and hoping we'll be there again this year to do that one more time. In the sectional finals, we didn't have our best performance, but we're hoping this year is the year and we'll be ready. So thank you, everybody, for the recognition. Appreciate it. Sure. Sure. Thank you.
Congratulations. Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
I'm going to make you stand there awkwardly for the next 10 minutes. That's okay. That stays. Appreciate it, guys. Good job. Good job. Next, we are thrilled to celebrate Molly Dickinson. Molly has demonstrated incredible skill and determination in swimming, guided by her equally passionate and dedicated coach, Lori Peters. Their partnership is a shining example of what commitment and collaboration can achieve. Coach.
Evening, everyone. Thank you for the invitation to be here tonight to celebrate one of our student athletes, Molly Dickinson, a freshman here at Watertown High School and a 3-year varsity member of the girls swimming and diving team. Molly was the 2024 Frontier League champion and Section 3 Class A champion in both the 50 free and the 100 free. She was the only Class A swimmer to win both her events at sectionals. And in doing so, she was voted by the coaches as the swimmer of the meet. Our goal, of course, throughout the season has been to qualify for the New York State Public High School Athletic Association State Championship meet. During our Frontier League meet, Molly qualified in the 50 free with a time of 24.59. And during the state qualifier meet, she won the 100 free with a time of 55.26, qualifying her for a second event. She competed against many talented swimmers across Section 3, including swimmers from Fayetteville Manlius, Liverpool, New Hartford, Jamesville DeWitt, CNS, West Genesee, Rome Free Academy, and Syracuse City. Swimmers are only allowed to compete in 2 individual events at the state meet, and therefore we are excited she has attained both. She is the only swimmer from the Frontier League to make it to the state meet this year, and she is only one of 20 student athletes across Section 3 to attend as well. This is no small feat. Molly will be traveling on Thursday with a section to Webster, New York, where she will have a practice out there Thursday afternoon. And then preliminary competition is on Friday morning, starting at 10 a.m. She is currently seated 23rd in the state in the 50 free and 33rd in the 100 free. The top 24 swimmers in each event will compete again on Saturday. If you have an account, you can follow Molly on the NFHS Network live feed or come watch her in action in Webster on Friday morning. I am extremely proud of her accomplishments this season. And of course, we wish her the very best as she represents Watertown and Section 3. The hardest part is getting there. Now it's time to have fun and swim fast. Congratulations, Molly. Oh, thank you so much.
Good luck, Molly. Go get 'em.
I have to say, Molly, thank you. I've watched the video, I don't know how many times when you finished. And you and Coach Peters and your other coach, and then when you realized that you had won and broke the record and the 3 of you was awesome. To watch, so congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And finally, I would like to recognize Sam Booth. Sam's achievements on and off the tennis courts are a testament to her work ethic and drive. She has benefited greatly from the leadership and expertise of her coach, Brian Morrison, who continues to inspire our athletes and strive for excellence.
Keep this one a little short. Sam came to us to Watertown her junior year from IHC. We were super thankful that she did. She's one of the top players in our area. Sam, when she came to us her junior year, was undefeated, and she stayed that way for the next 2 years on our program. She had a 52-0 record and 4 straight Frontier League first singles championship titles. She was able to qualify for the sectional tournament. She got down there and she lost to the number 2 seed, but landed in the first top 4. From there, she made it to the state qualifier tournament. There, she had to beat out about 200 plus kids in Section 3 to be able to make it to that point. And when she did, she landed in the top 8. She needed top 4 to go on to states in New York City, but we're thrilled that she made it that far. She's the first player from Watertown to do this in almost 30 years. Division I Class A is an extremely difficult group of players to compete against. So we're just honored that she was here, and we're super thankful that she was part of our program and got to represent our district and our team for the last couple of years. So
He's a great coach.
congratulations. Thank you.
That's it. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank our athletes for being so spectacular, but it also takes an incredible coach. And all 3 coaches that were here tonight have seen firsthand Mrs. Peter, I mean, when I was in school, the swim, the swim program was, it was almost like collegiate level and you've kept it there, and Brian, we grew up playing, although he won't tell you that I was better than him. What Brian's achieved in a highly competitive area that lacrosse has become, is nothing short of remarkable. And, Mr. Morrison too. And we're just so thankful to have you there guiding our kids. So I think we owe you another round of applause. And if you were here for the student recognition as an athlete, now you can leave and go be a kid. Or you can stay, whatever you'd like to do.
Homework. It's nice to see you as well. Thank you all so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Okay, moving along on board and staff reports, it looks like up next is recognition of school-related professionals.
So today, everyone, is School-Related Professionals Day, National School-Related Professionals Day. And this came as a vision. Tina and I and Matt Burdick have been meeting with the union presidents of each of our bargaining units, which is 6 plus the management confidential. We've been looking at ways that we could improve climate, culture, attendance, and all of those different things that will impact our strategic plan. And a part of that was recognizing the hard work of our school-related professionals. We've got nurses, we've got secretaries, we've got bus drivers, we've got aides, we've got TAs, we've got food service. So today was the day that we brought this to fruition on the National Recognition Day. So I'm going to read a little statement, and then I would like Tina to pull up a PowerPoint towards the end. And then we have school-related professionals that are here tonight that on behalf of the entire district are going to be recognized. Today is School-Related Professional Recognition Day, and it's a privilege to take a moment to honor the incredibly talented and dedicated school-related professionals, also known as SRPs. These people are an essential part of our district's success. These professionals are the backbone of our schools, providing support and service to our students in order for them to thrive. SRPs are the unsung heroes who make a difference every day, whether they're working in classrooms, guiding students, supporting families, or maintaining schools or driving school buses. Their commitment and care ensure that our district operates smoothly and that every child has the support he or she needs to succeed. This evening, we are thrilled to recognize 117 school-related professionals who have gone above and beyond in their roles. This recognition is not just for those that are here tonight, but for all SRPs across the district. Your tireless dedication is truly appreciated. On behalf of my entire executive team, Lynn, Tina, Brianne, and Matt, and myself, we thank you for your hard work and your commitment. Please know that you are a vital part of our school community. And today we honor and celebrate you, some of whom are here being recognized tonight. And we are excited to share a presentation highlighting their contributions. Please join me in celebrating our SRPs. With this PowerPoint is the picture of all of our SRPs that were nominated throughout the entire district, 117 in total. Today, we had the opportunity to take a caravan each of the location, including the district office and the Massey Learning Center. And we had the opportunity to work alongside building administrators and acknowledging these 117 people. The amount of joy and tears that this brought to people being recognized really was heartwarming to see how important this was to each of these people. Tonight, we have selected people to join us so that you have a physical representation of some of these fine people. What I would like is for once your name is called, if you could come and stand behind myself. What I would like to do is get a picture of you with the school board. Michelle Gravell is going to call the names.
Alrighty, Mike Grange. Linda Griffin. Amy Boyer. Gina Fenn. Andrea Levancha. Diana Stanton. Carmen Torres. And Amanda Cruiser.
If we could put the board around them so that we get a.
Yeah.
Yes, it's an Android.
Oh, you're sick.
You want to.
You want?
Mary Kirby. Oh,
I said Mary Hughes did not speak loud enough.
Right here, can I? I got his too.
Whatever you think. Honestly, everybody. While they're arranging seats, I will let you know that these people were recognized by students. They were recognized by teachers, by administrators, by teachers, and by community stakeholders. We handed the individuals a letter, so if you're wondering, it's not a termination letter. We did have, when we went to case today, they asked us that question, we had no case slip. But they were letters. On the letter is the person's name who nominated the individual and also why they nominated them. We felt that it was extremely important that the people recognized who and for what reason. And then they received a pin that says you are essential in the Watertown City School District. So thank you again for all of your contributions to our schools and our community.
And I just have to say something really quick, and I'll make it really quick or I'll cry. Oh, thank you. For doing this and for all the SRPs that are in our district, you're amazing.
And at this point, if you were here for the recognition, the mic is student.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
you.
They can anywhere down. Come on, Andrew. we're all
Easy
friends.
now.
You and Laura. Thanks.
You definitely deserve it, Deb.
Thanks, honey. All right. you're ready?
Not very nice to you.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Right, our group keeps getting smaller and smaller.
The option to leave.
All right, up next on board and staff reports, it looks like we have a Spark Cognition presentation that will come to us virtually.
Hi, good evening. I'm Robert McDermott with Avathon, formerly Spark Cognition. It looks like, let me share my desktop. Pleasure to be with you all today. So thank you for the opportunity. I'm going to take you through this evening just a short couple of slides about the use of AI in school safety, the advances that have been made, what we're seeing in the marketplace, and hopefully this will provide you with a good perspective on what's happening in this field and where potentially we could be of some assistance. So I'm going to start with a very short video. There's no sound associated with the video, but it's going to give you a flavor and a taste for what we provide relative to the use of computer vision, AI in school safety. Just a couple of things to draw your attention to. You're going to see some boxes, red boxes and different colored boxes associated with the scenes that are going on. That's our AI technology detecting what's happening within a given circumstance and providing alerts and notifications based on what we're seeing. So the way I like to describe the way our AI works is that if you could see it with your eye, we could see it with our AI, and the AI will continue to build confidence in it's observing in any given scene or any given circumstance. So with that, let me start with the video here. So you see we have bounding boxes, and we're always interested in understanding who's on campus and why. So we could do license plate recognition, we could do intrusion detection, we can understand if someone is entering the building in a way they shouldn't be, and you can see with the red boxes we're detecting this. Most importantly, we guarantee or talk about school safety around the detection of weapons and what that looks like in today's world. But as importantly, it's the real-time alerts that come with that, either through our mobile app or our desktop and cloud-based application. So our intent with our AI is a number of things. One, it's to keep as much as away from the facility as we can, but also allow for a level of productivity and the use of AI in other scenarios. I'm going to talk a little bit about that now. And so, we've got a number of use cases that I'll talk about with you, but from a computer vision perspective, what we're doing is we're processing all of that intelligence at the edge. So if you have a VMS system or a recording system, we're going to sit our technology right next to that. And we're not the source of truth. We're not there to be the evidential components to video. We're just there to inspect every frame of video that comes across our system. We've got this deployed over 130,000 cameras across the world. Very quick out of the box deployment. We're using existing camera infrastructure, so it's a very quick to market, very, very fast deployment, relatively speaking. And it's using, and by using your and other schools' existing camera infrastructure, no investment needs to be made there. And again, since we're not recording the video, you know, we're very much aware and sensitive to what's happening from a privacy perspective out in the world. And so, you know, some of those use cases I showed before or in the video, those video clips, we divide those into categories around health and safety, security, and situational awareness. Health and safety is a big one for us in schools. Accidents, slips and falls, distancing, traffic control, folks going up and down the stairs, you know, if they're one-way stairs, et cetera. PPE compliance for folks in the cafeteria. You know, we had one instance where a young lady in one of our ISDs in Texas had excused herself to use the restroom, was in the hallway and ended up fainting. And we were able to get the school nurse and the school resource officer out to her very quickly. So, you know, for us, you know, being able to assist and understand the health and integrity of students and what's happening there is a big part of our technology. And then from a security perspective, certainly weapon detection, intrusion detection. Again, our intent is to keep everything as far away from the campus as possible. Perimeter security, stadium security as well. Access control and authorized access. You know, I'm sure you experience it often. You know, you've got basketball games, you've got activities after school. You know, are people in parts of this campus, in parts of the facility that maybe they shouldn't be? Did they wander off, et cetera? Being able to understand what's going on 24 hours a day, 7 days a week with a piece of technology that never sleeps and provides near real-time alerts and notifications in terms of what's happening is key to that security component. And then from a situational awareness perspective, just really, again, understanding who's on campus and why, right? You could do student faculty counts, heat maps where you're keeping an eye on people moving through areas, you know, a bit of crowd control, you know, or kids, you know, in a large group gathering in a certain area of the school, or kids rushing into the bathroom, potentially into the restroom. You know, are there too many doing that? You know, those are the types of things that we can detect and alert, you know, folks and give the CRO or certainly the administration the right information at the right time to make the right decisions. And so, you know, with that, you know, just a little bit about what we're seeing in the marketplace. You know, clearly from a statistics perspective, I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't already know. That unfortunately, you know, in the United States predominantly, you know, active shootings are on the rise. You know, over 350,000 students have been exposed to some level of gun violence since Columbine. There have been, you know, close to 2,100 school shootings, and they continue to grow year over year. You know, deaths can continue to climb, and you know, interesting enough, the timing and the place of these incidents vary, right? You know, almost 23% in parking lots, you know, et cetera. You know, about 20% in the morning, 10% at sporting events. So it really does vary, right? And the intent would be to leverage the technology to help, you know, from a preventative component, really ensure that you're providing the right level of safety and security for staff, administration, and especially the student population. But, you know, another component of this is the analytics that go with it, right? So while, you know, the odds of something happening from a weapons event within a given school is highly unlikely, you know, the insurance is there, but you know, the amount of analytics you get from a computer vision AI solution within a school setting, you know, is tremendous. And so, you know, by utilizing the technology, you'll be able to understand student counts and locations, right? Understanding, you know, in this instance, how many people came in the main entrance, but there were 562, you know, folks that came through the front door. And then you can progressed to observation, that, you had 87 or 90 folks in the gym, right? And they can apply some context to that, meaning, when you have that many folks that are in and out of the gym, you may need to go, clean the gym and provide, the maintenance staff notification that, there's, event is wrapping up, and let's be proactive in ensuring that we're tidying up. So it's really understanding, those types of statistics and really get a feel for what's happening within the facility from a status, perspective. And then, when you talk about vehicles and what's happening at the perimeter of the school, we have the capability of identifying cars by license plate, but also identify when a car enters a particular parking spot, right? We can also, again, put context around that, meaning, working with our school and our campus customers, we'll talk about things like, well, how long in the morning should it take somebody to exit their vehicle? And if that's, say, 5 minutes, we could set a timer that says if someone doesn't exit their vehicle in 10 minutes or 8 minutes, maybe it's an opportunity to send a school resource officer out there to understand what's going on. So it up levels your situational awareness, really understanding, what's happening within the environment. So let me stop there. I really just wanted to give you a taste of what AI means in school safety and how we've applied it in different environments throughout the United States, and would love to pause here and answer any questions that you might have.
Is this just a presentation
Yes.
on a potential
Yes.
AI platform?
Correct.
So, can you hear me?
I can.
I'm sorry if I missed this. How many schools, including states, are already using this?
Let me come back to you with an updated count. We're predominantly using the technology has been used in Texas, Florida, California. So I'll come back with a count of the number of schools, but we've got it deployed in many throughout the country.
So do you have any data on the success of this?
Yeah, I'll share some data in terms of, success, means a few different things, and schools use our technology in a number of different ways, right? So, in terms of, weapons detection, that's one area of measurement, being able to provide statistics and information in terms of, student body flow in terms of how students are moving through the campus, how people are entering and exiting the restrooms, etc. So I'll provide you with some statistics on how success is measured with the school systems that we've worked with.
So I would think that one of the things that would be interesting to see is if we were to invest in this, you'd want to make sure that it is truly a deterrent platform. So if it's deterring behavior, so for example, when you're showing the box with the guy with the rifle entering into a room, I think it'd be interesting to see where you've already delivered this system. How many times did it potentially stop a potential disastrous event where someone walking into a building with a gun that obviously places a lot of threat on the student body?
Yeah.
I think it's a piece of information that would be very interesting to see, because if it acts as a deterrent, then it's definitely worth the value. I don't know how much more, and I'm just saying this from my naivete, but I don't know how much value we would have in trying to figure out what the pattern of behaviors are with kids going into the bathroom or how they roam the hallways. I mean, we have a pretty good system here. We've got the e-hall pass, we've got the monitors in the hallways, we've got vaping detectors in the bathrooms. I mean, we have other modes of control in that way. So I just think in something like this, because I'm sure this is not going to be cheap, I'd like to see some proof that it truly is a deterrent and that it has worked in that fashion.
I think for me, I think, it's providing you the ability to talk to someone that's using this technology, I think is a great next step, right? Because as I said earlier, the odds of someone with a weapon, breaching a facility that happens to use our technology are really de minimis, right? And so it really is more of an insurance policy, but our ability to detect intrusion, people scaling fences, people coming onto the property when they shouldn't be from certain areas. We've got plenty of statistics on what that looks like. And again, being able to inspect and interrogate what's happening within the parking lot, et cetera. So yeah, I will provide you some further information around those statistics and what that looks like and the success associated with that, as well as broker a session if you so desire with someone that makes use of the technology. Liberty Hill, for example, one of the larger ISDs in Texas, is a consumer of our technology, and it's the cornerstone of their safety posture.
Thank you.
Sure.
You mentioned stadium security, and I know some of those Texas schools have some pretty big stadiums. Is there any ceiling, any limit to the number of participants in an event or the size of the stadium that kind of maxes out the system?
No, the system really scales. The way we size our systems are based on the number of use cases and the number of cameras. And so, as long as the stadium is equipped with the right number of cameras to do the level of inspection needed, we just size the edge device appropriately. And the edge device really is just an off-the-shelf, standard issue, GPU intensive server. It's like a video gaming server because we're processing a lot of video. So it's similar to a gaming unit, and we'll just size that edge device based on, as I said, the number of cameras and the particular use case. It's a bit of a math endeavor, but not difficult to size.
Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else? Okay, well, this was a great initial presentation, and we look forward to hearing back from you in the not so distant future.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And any questions? So I know sometimes you can see something like this and not think of all the questions you may have, but if there's anything, please reach out to me and the team, and we'd be happy to answer it.
Thank you again, sir.
Thank you.
Anna, thank you both. If you email me any of those resources that you have, I'll make sure that I send that to the board.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Take care.
Thank you all.
Moment we've all been waiting for. My pleasure to turn it over to Mr. John Kane with the exciting policy committee meeting report.
Oh, yes, thank you. I don't know how exciting it'll be, but we'll do our best. So the policy committee met last week because Lori was going to be missing from this meeting tonight, and we wanted to make sure we got that meeting in. So we focused on two main things. We discussed policy 8302 again on complaints about curricular instructional materials. That is on the agenda tonight. We tabled it at the last meeting. And then I don't want to steal any thunder from our librarians, but we did get a sneak peek at the updated policy for selection of library multimedia materials, and that's going to be presented tonight and will be on the agenda for the board to vote on in December.
Great. Didn't let down. It was everything I thought it would be. It really was.
I mean, I was really worried about Lori's shoes. I mean, number one, my feet won't fit, but number two, she's a hard act to follow.
Thank you, John. And rounding out our board and staff reports, Dr. Larry Schmidl.
Just a huge shout out again to our SRP and all those people that took the time to nominate one of our SRPs. We're excited to have them in our district and excited that you took the time to recognize them with us this evening. I will let you know that last Friday we had our FEMA exploratory meeting. It's supposed to be a phone call. They were enticed to come, so they were physically here. I think we had more people in my office than it actually holds for the fire marshal. But in any event, the meeting was an extreme success. They had met with the city prior to the meeting with us, and as you know, because you've heard me say it at open board meetings in the past, that we have also had coordinated meetings with the city. As you know, this building right here sits on a hill, and down from the hill goes a lot of water. And so we talked with the city about the water that comes onto our property and flushes down to Case and also the high school. We had that opportunity, and then we immediately were so excited that we met again today. And so today we met for about 3 hours today. We had the FEMA recovery scoping meeting to talk about some initial things that we noticed. I did make it clear with FEMA while they were here that I am including North Elementary School, Case Middle School, and the high school, as you know, in this report we filed as a district. For those of you that don't know that are here this evening or listening in, we did have some water fountains coming out of toilets and sinks and other water options at North. And we had some sewage backup at Case, and we had a bit of issue at the high school. But that recovery scoping meeting today, it was just what I did not want to do is submit to a solid list of where we think damages have occurred. And I'll give you a perfect example that I did not know prior to this visit today. We would have given you initial reports. And then today we decided to take a trip down to the high school Case. And when we walked into the weightlifting room, we noticed that the platform that they use for yoga, dancing, all of those fun activities, is starting to buckle. And we had Riley Moonen, who was there, that gave us a tour of that space. And then he led us into the gymnasium and said, look, there's more areas in that space. And so what happens is, as a result of today's recovery scoping meeting, we have 60 days. They say 60, it's technically 59 if you look at the calendar. We have 59 days to actually come up with a list of things that we want to include in the report. And there are two options. The district has the option of utilizing FEMA, where FEMA comes in and they do their own inspection, or we can use our architects, which is King and King Associates. FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, in coordination, we believe that it's in our best interest to use our own architects who are familiar with our facilities. And so our architect, Jason Benedict, was also on staff today, along with Appella Osborne, because when we look at the buckets, it's bringing buildings back to pre-disaster conditions, it's bringing things up to code, and it's also looking at mitigation. And as I've said from the day one after the storm, was that what we don't want to do is spend FEMA dollars on renovating our building or getting it up to code and then have the storm happen again. And so there are some contingencies with how we have to look. The meter really is a 500-day storm. And so we know those 500-day storms are happening more frequently and that we have to be prepared for that. And when you look at where the high school in particular sits, it sits at a very low point. And so it is bound to take on water. So we took the opportunity to tour that facility today so they could see exactly where the water came in. We talked about some mitigation efforts, but we didn't commit to anything because what we want is our architects to go through with a fine-tooth comb, identify any issues, and then Appella Osborne to go through and really give us a good scope of, we address these issues with the mitigation, the chances of it flooding again in the future are less likely. And so that happened today. They enjoyed that meeting here today. So they said they would like to meet with us every 2 weeks. So on December 3rd, we'll be meeting, and then 2 weeks later. So we'll be meeting every 2 weeks until this happens. Now once we identify, we submit, and they decide to commit to what we are saying we need. And there's a process that it takes to go through that with their staff on their side. We have to look at the Environmental Protection Agency stuff. There's a lot of different factors here. Once that's decided on, the district has 18 months to actually have the work completed. The approval rating with the New York State Education Department does not happen that quickly. And so if we are not able to get it done, but there's a chance that that may be the case because of the turnaround time, we do have options of hiring a third-party reviewer if we so choose. it is fairly new, so we don't know how expeditious that is actually going to be. But in any event, we have the right as a district to go forward and ask for an extension up to 4 years. The state has the authority designated by FEMA to actually extend up to 4 years. Beyond that 4-year point, we hope to have the work done by then, but if by chance it was not able to be finished, then we would have to extend beyond that, and that would be a FEMA decision. As you know, we are also working on a capital improvement project. And so what we don't want to do is commit district dollars that are going to be covered by FEMA to address the disaster relief efforts. And so it's a delicate balance. You'll be glad to know that this is a new experience for FEMA, for the Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Services, our architect, our construction associates. So we're all learning this together, which I think really put the district in a good position, particularly with the scoping happening at our architect level and not being sent out to FEMA to do on their own. Our architects know our buildings. They just completed our building condition survey. And we do have the results from the 1.9 million that we spent with ServPro to have, particularly the high school and then the sanitation effort at Case, the lower level. So exciting things are happening with that. And we are going to continue working with them on a biweekly basis. So you'll hear as we move forward with board meetings, more information regarding that. The next thing I just want to mention is our impact aid forms. We're hoping to get as many as we can before Thanksgiving break. They are available on our website. They are available on ParentSquare. Our impact aid allows us to collect federal aid that supports a lot of our programming here in the Watertown City School District. If you look at other districts around us, Carthage, Indian River, they receive monies for that as well. The denominations are a little bit different depending on the number of students that actually complete the survey and send it back in. And so to increase opportunities for kids, we just ask that you take the opportunity to complete it. And this year, with Lynn's direction, we actually are collecting it in a paper copy. They can do it online. So we're accepting it in multiple different formats to make it accessible for families. The next thing I would like to mention, Tina, Lynn, and I sat in the Student Advisory Council today. I feel so relieved to see the smiling faces that sat around this very table. It was pushed that way slightly, but this table today. To think that these students are our future really makes me feel comfortable. They have, they come to this, we added 2 big things this year. They have to be willing to mentor a student that's in need, and they have to complete a project. And today we gave them the opportunity. They worked with Lynn today on an instructional piece. More information to come on that later on. They worked on writing thank you notes. And the kids, when they wrote those thank you notes for our SRP staff, they just there was so much excitement off of them as they were writing their notes. And they were like, can I go get them now? Can I go get them now? And then they were asking us for bus driver names because they wanted the bus drivers to be recognized. It was just an amazing experience. But when you sit there and listen to the projects that these kids want to do, they want to improve attendance. They want to improve the academic and the athletic combination and how they play together. They want to work with student mental health. It is so inspiring. And so I didn't want to deflate their excitement today, but I said, what I want you to do is I want you to leave here today and I want you to go talk to as many people as you know about your idea. Because now we have to take it from being an idea to fleshing it out to actually bring it to fruition. Because then, depending on where they're at, they're going to be working in groups. They're going to be working with Tina on HR and student services, Lynn, if it's a curriculum thing, Bree, if it's a finance thing, facilities, Brian. One of them said food service was something they wanted to focus on. And so he'll be working with Mary Hughes. We've got an IT question. So with Jeff, so what I plan on doing is trying to give them the support on my staff to make sure that they can bring their projects to fruition this year. And I just am overly excited about it. Our student representatives this year are a wonderful group of students. We talked about the new Cyclone Academy Junior that I want started for next year for our 8th graders. They gave me honest feedback about that. They're just a great group of kids, and they really do have the heart and soul of our district and our future. And that's all I have.
Thank you so much. Okay, items for consent agenda.
All the consent agenda items A and B are hereby approved.
Can I have a motion, please? Second. John. Colleen and John Godfrey. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Items for board action.
Resolved that the general construction contract for the 24-25 capital outlay project with BC Building Systems Incorporated, which will include repairs to the sidewalks at Starbuck Elementary, is hereby approved.
And this is a continuation of what we've already started with the sidewalks last year, picked up.
All right, can I have a motion? John, and a second? John, Cody, discussion.
I have a couple of questions. I think you just, so this is the capital outlay for the continue, we put sidewalks in Starbucks, right?
Yeah, capital outlay only allows us to spend 100,000,
Right.
so we couldn't do them all last year. So the committee last year, when we met, our enough committee decided to continue the sidewalks, so that's what this is.
Okay.
Anything else, guys? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolved that the approval of the school district agreement for consulting services by and between the Watertown City School District and the New York State School Boards Association in effect for the 24-25 and 25-26 academic years and shall expire on June 30th, 2026. This agreement shall provide professional expertise in providing school districts with state aid review services and is hereby approved.
Motion, please. John and Tina, discussion.
Is this a renewal?
This is brand new, and this is, I mentioned at the last board meeting, there is a zero cost to the district. So I felt like it was important to do with Bree being new to our district. With Matt Burdick in his position, he's been in over a year now, but this will actually highlight some things that maybe we're not maximizing on the foundation aid piece that they can go back and help us learn from. And if they don't find anything and everything is perfect, then we don't owe them anything.
Right.
You're welcome.
Anything else? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Resolved that proposal for regulated building materials testing services through Energy Environment LLC as presented to the board is hereby approved.
Can I have a motion, please?
John.
Tina and John. Let's think about
Awkward pause.
it. Any discussion?
Discussion, yeah. So this is specifically, I saw, this is only for them to evaluate for any potential asbestos or any other products that might have been a result of the flooding.
Correct.
So it's just because I looked at how much it was. It's so cheap. I'm like, there's no way it's that cheap. So it's just specific to that.
And we'll see different dollar amounts once we get into North and some other things.
Yeah.
We've got 60 days, technically 59, today's meeting to actually give a true list.
Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Whereas the legislature of the state of New York has enacted legislation to authorize municipalities to permit the real property tax exemption for developers and building owners to convert non-residential real property to residential housing units and commercial mixed uses in accordance with New York State Real Property Tax Law, Section 485 -A, and whereas a school district may also authorize an exemption for this purpose in the same manner and to the same extent as a municipality that lies within the geographic boundaries of the school district has authorized the exemption, excuse me. And whereas the city of Watertown, which is located within the geographic boundaries of the school district, authorizes an exemption pursuant to section 485-A by local law on or about June 3rd, 2024. And whereas the school district has reviewed the particulars of various non-residential real property that could be converted to residential housing units and commercial mixed uses in the city. And whereas the school district viewed the existing residential housing unit and commercial mixed use development in the city, therefore be it resolved as follows. Number one, the school district hereby finds that additional residential housing units and commercial mixed use development in the city would be a benefit to the school district. Number two, the school district hereby finds that the adoption of a real property tax exemption pursuant to real property tax law, section 485-A which is applicable to property in the city, would encourage and foster the development of residential housing units and commercial mixed uses in the city. Number three, the school district hereby adopts an exemption pursuant to real property tax law 485-A within the city in the same manner as adopted and authorized by the city. Number four, this resolution shall take effect immediately upon its filing with the assessors of the city of Watertown in the Jefferson County Office of Real Property and shall be applicable to all assessment rolls prepared on or after March 1, 2024.
Have a motion, please?
Really?
Millie, in a second. John, any discussion?
Yes. So we had talked about this before and we had several questions and you were kind enough to go back and get answers for us. So I did a little bit more digging. And apparently there is a developer in Watertown who's actually resides in Henderson and has done a lot of work in Henderson, invested his own private dollars into developing the community, and he now wants to come to Watertown. So there was a concern about how much money are we really going to lose? Well, there's only really 2 to 3 properties at most that would fit the picture of for mixed use, storefront and residential. And we would only be not losing, we would still get the tax base on the property value now. We would just not get it on the additional for 12 years, but then we could play catch up. So as long as we are in a financially stable position right now, which we are, I think that, you know, this guy has done a lot of good to the community. The city is not as mutually exclusive from this school board. So like if we were to vote this down, it wouldn't affect the city. The city's already supported this. So it doesn't matter what we do, but it does, because in my personal opinion, if there's a guy out there who's willing to invest dollars into blight in the city of Watertown, I think as a school district, we should support that. I think it's a good effort. At the beginning, I think I was skeptical, but I've done more research and I think that the effort is a good one. And I think this is a good way to partner with the city. So I just wanted to add that extra bit of information because I had not spoken in favor of this before, and I just wanted to rectify my line of thinking.
I'll just add to that. Typically, these are properties that have been sitting unmaintained and undeveloped for a while. So this is the long-term view, and if these are improved and it also spurs other development in the city, ultimately this will benefit the district in the long term. And I like the fact that we're partnering. City has already endorsed it, and to me, it just makes sense to join them in this effort to encourage this kind of development in the city.
I agree.
Is there, let's say we change our mind down the road. Is it as difficult to get out of this as it is some of the other agreements we've had?
Sure it is.
Oh, absolutely. Because once they approve the conversion, right now, there's one property that the city is honoring on their side. We would have one property right now, but there could be additional. But again, as both Millie and Randy said, right now, those properties are really not doing anything other than distracting from the city. You know, when you look at these developers that are doing a great job and really thriving, they're making these mixed use properties where they've got sales and residential.
And, you know, just to add to that, this person, his name is Dan Queer, he looked for this program within the state and he researched it and he pursued it and he approached the mayor and he went to the city council and he sold his idea. He had data to prove an outcome of what he's done in other parts of, you know, our communities. And I think that when you have someone that does that, we really should champion that. We should really support a person that, because that guy's not from here. He's from out of, you know, he's moved, he's retiring here. And I think people like that, you really need to support them. And I think it's a good thing for us to do.
If it was desirable to do these, it would have been done by now.
Right.
Yeah.
And sometimes government has to provide incentives for undesirable activity. So, I mean, this is one of those, I think.
Yes.
Just to add to it, because this is specific to the city and a specific 12-year period of time. But the district does engage with pilots, payment in lieu of taxes. And so we have other things that we do for large corporations and things within our cities. City.
Thank you.
Okay, so all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Jason, we need to bring the next resolution back to the table with a motion and a second.
All right, can I have a motion to bring it back to the table? Randy, in a second? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed?
So that the annual internal audit and annual risk assessment of the school district as prepared by the firm of Questar 3 BOCES for the 23-24 school year and the corrective action plans associated therewith is hereby accepted and approved.
Can I have a motion, please? John, a second.
Melanie,
Ellie.
yes. Mostly for great. So thank you for giving us the report. The presentation was a little confusing without having the report. So now that we have the reports in front of us, and we talked a little bit about this, but I just wanted to highlight this so that everybody else is informed. So basically we have two reports. So the one on the internal controls of staff attendance, we really did not get what we were looking for as a board. What we were looking for were attendance trends within teachers. And I guess that was just someone, not us.
Right. No,
Not
I
us. We were clear about what we wanted, but somebody in translation dropped the ball. So,
And I think, Millie, that really, so the Questar rep that we met with last year in F and
Yeah.
F, that person no longer is employed through Questar. And so then
I
Ken
think
is
that's
new. And there was-
probably
A lot of
the fault.
transition. I think a lot of stuff got
Yeah.
lost.
So I guess I think as a board, we need to decide, is there any remedy to that? I mean, we obviously asked for something and got the complete opposite. Now, in a positive light, he did point out that we have issues with Frontline and Envision, and they are, despite the fact that they're compatible, we're not using it effectively, and that's already been highlighted and addressed, and we're gonna fix that. So that's the positive side of this. But I still think we didn't really get the answer to our question. And I remember when he presented to us, he said, if you have any other issues, please let me know. This is a draft. So I'm wondering, can we go back and say, well, this is what we really wanted? Would we have to pay for it all over again? Is it something that we want to do? Are we gonna?
But we legally have to submit something to the state.
Sure.
We're kind of running behind on this
Yeah.
particular report, which isn't the board's fault. Again,
Yeah.
we thought it was being presented. We didn't have the materials. The downside of the person presenting virtually not having physical materials in front of them. But what we could do is ask that to be a focus for next year. I agree with what you said in the sense that we did have some learnings.
Yeah.
When he gave us the report, I did meet with payroll. I met with Tina in her department, Marie in her department. So there were things that we looked at that were aha moments that we've immediately worked to rectify. So I think we did get something out of it.
We did. And I think if we're running against a timeline, we should definitely submit this. I mean, I'm happy to approve this, but I just wanted to point out that we didn't get what we wanted and we can pursue it if we want more, but the things that came out of here are good. So that's my comment on that.
And just so you know, Millie, for the 24-25 year, it is yet a different auditor that is.
Oh, okay.
So I can reach out to him and tell him what it is that you're specifically looking for.
Okay. So then the financial risk assessment report. I don't know if this is an error, but the date on here is September 29th of 2023.
Yes. I had received an email from Ken Zabrowski about 2 months ago, maybe saying that this report had never been approved by the board. So I don't know why, I can't answer why it took so long to come to you. And I apologize for that, but I can assure you that going forward, that will not occur. But I can't answer to why we got it so late.
So this was last year.
This is the 23-24 year.
So then so just to caution you though, I went through this report and one of the things that was most shocking to me is that when they're highlighting some of our deficiencies on the second half of it, they give you the updates and some of those updates are really old, like
Yes.
2017.
We addressed that. They go back all the way back to 2012.
So I'm thinking now, if we're going to do this, I would hope that we can provide a more current update, because some of those explanations, even last year, I think I would have said something about it, like some of those recommendations, I mean, some of the responses that were given were really not.
Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree with you. And I had gotten a draft report for the 24-25 year just a few days ago. And I shot him an email today asking, these last 16 pages, they're 12, 14 years old. Can we condense that to like the last 3 years? Something that's a little bit more relevant, because something that happened 12 years ago, no one around this table is probably around for that.
Right.
I absolutely agree.
Okay, so as long as we're on the same page, those are my comments about these.
Anyone? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Be resolved that upon the recommendation and approval, the Nicholas Board of Education hereby approves the following: resignations, retirements, leave of absence, appointments from non-probationary instructional, appointments permanent part-time, appointments Cyclone Academy, appointment winter coaching boys, appointment substitute instructional.
Can I have a motion, please? Go in a second.
No.
Tina, gotcha. Discussion.
Just will add to the math on the retirements, you got 8 years there. Wow.
It's gonna say that.
I can't believe Julie's actually leaving. Great, look at that, 30 years. Wow.
I'd like to wish Jessica Blair good luck in her new assignment. We're very lucky
Really missed.
to have her for as long as we did, and school that got her is equally as lucky. So good luck.
And again, more kudos, Larry. Adding 2 more people to the Cyclone Academy. Lisa Winkler, incredible science teacher, Ansit, English. These are just, just from the very beginning, we've had really the cream of the crop participating, and I think that that's really an asset to the students who need it.
That was a nice joint effort with ourselves, our administrative union, and the WEA that met with the teachers and said, the program's only going to be as successful as the staff working it. And, we had 54 students in the first semester. We have 17 students that want to join it, and now we're already looking at what we can do next year to get our 8th graders caught up, our current 7th grade cohort caught up, so that when they go to high school. So more information to come about that too.
Can you make sure that we don't lose the high school in the process of this?
No, we're not losing anything.
We're gonna just keep adding on, our high school's gonna disappear.
We're not losing, we're only going up.
It's nice.
Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right. And you abstain. Motion carries.
Whereas a resolution was passed by the Board of Education on November 6, 2024, approving the probationary appointment of Lindsay Ryan to, with an effective date of December 9th, 2024, and be it further resolved that this amended resolution reflects the effective start date to be November 25th, 2024, and is hereby approved.
Motion, please. John, second. Yeah, any discussion?
I apologize, and I don't mean to offend anyone, but I'm not sure. Lindsay Ryan, where does she work?
She's going to be working at Case Middle School.
Where?
It's Case Middle School,
Oh,
special
okay.
ed teacher. Brand new employee here.
Oh, that's why I recognize that. This is the brand new
Brand
employee. Okay,
She's able to start earlier, which is great for us.
yes. Okay,
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. At this point, I'd like Mrs. St. Ange to please stand.
Resolved that upon the recommendation of Dr. Larry Schmigel, Superintendent of Schools, the following tenure appointment is hereby approved. Trista Seange, elementary, effective date December 19th, 2024.
I just want you to know how impressed, I know I sent you an email following that tenure observation, but I was overly impressed what I saw what you're doing in your 2nd grade classroom and how you're inspiring your students. The culture and climate that you build in your classroom should be in every classroom. So thank you for being a role model and thank you for choosing the Watertown City School District.
Well, I mean, we should probably make it official. Can I have a motion, please? So Billy, second. John and Billy, it was a tie. So, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Congrats.
Congratulations.
Jason, at this time, we need a motion second to bring another resolution back to the table.
All right, can I have a motion, please?
Millie? What?
Billy and John.
Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Resolved that the following revised Board of Education policies and regulations are hereby approved and adopted. 7,500 education records, 7,500.4 student privacy FERPA notice to reflect the records officer as the district clerk. 8302 complaints about curricula or instructional materials. 8302.1 complaint procedures concerning textbooks, library material, and other instructional materials. 8302.2 request for reevaluation of instructional materials.
Can I have a motion, please?
John.
John, a second.
Millie?
Millie, discussion.
Yes, I do have quite a bit of discussion, I think. So since we, meaning me, Randy, Cully, and Jason are not participants of the policy committee, I guess my first question would be to you, John and Tina, the thought process behind changing the policy as it currently stands.
Sure. So this makes the policy more user-friendly, rather than having one set committee where there may be conflicts of interest. Like if a teacher is challenged and they're on the committee and one of the curricula that they use is challenged, they can no longer sit on that committee. Likewise, if we have a community member who sits on the committee and they want to serve on that committee. So this allows us to make this committee specific to the buildings in which the challenge comes from, with the specialists in that building that know that curriculum, know that material.
And I think that's really good. I really do. I think that's a really good way to approach it. This way it's situation specific as opposed to being general at the beginning. I guess my more specific question is, and if you would allow me, the original policy 8302.1 reads line item number 3. It says any written complaint will be presented to the reconsideration committee. The membership of the committee, which shall be submitted to the Board of Education, the board, for annual approval, shall consist of, and I'll just omit that latter part because I have a comment about that. So that particular portion is now being removed from the revised policy, and it is taking the authority of the board to approve the membership of the reconsideration committee. I think that we have 3 jobs on this board. We drive policy, we protect the purse of the community taxpayers, and we hire and fire our superintendent. So when a revised policy is actually removing authority that has already been there, I have an issue with that, and I don't know what the thought process was behind removing that.
So I can speak for myself and some of the discussions we've had.
Sure.
Number one, because we are the final arbiter for this, if this works its way up through stages of appeal, it'll go from the committee to the superintendent and finally land on the board's lap. The board should have as few fingerprints on the lower levels as possible, number one. If we appoint the people to that, the people to that committee, whether they're community members or whether they are, teachers that work in this district, we already have biases in who we would want appointed and who are appointed. So we should eliminate that. And then the second reason is that, we do hire the superintendent. We have faith in the superintendent that he will appoint a committee that's going to do the job and do the job well. And if we didn't have that situation, then, we have means to remedy that. Ultimately, if the changes do not work, it's still a policy. It still comes back to the board. In a year's time, we could say that didn't work. We can come back and change it.
So I'm glad you said that because you said we can always come back and change it if it doesn't work. So I guess on a primitive level, how has this policy failed us that we feel we need to now change it? Because as I understand it, as a sitting superintendent, you've never had to embrace or use this policy. So now we have a situation that has become quite emotional and sensitive to a lot of our community members, and it's been brought up. That's why this is being highlighted. So my question would be why are we changing something that we've never tapped into? We don't identify the flaws in it because it's never been used, and we have no proof that it's failed
Well,
us.
we have flawed because we were supposed to appoint that committee annually and we haven't. So we have dropped the ball on that. And number two, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Dr. Spiegel, we haven't had to deal with it, but other districts have. And so legal's advice is that this is what they are advising districts to utilize as best practice from all of the experience that they've gathered in the field in places where this has been an occurrence.
Right, but we don't need legal to tell us that we need to abide by our policies. So the fact that we failed to abide by policy as written doesn't make us.
So
change it.
whether we had the issue or not, whether we had community members right now that wanted to challenge some of our curriculum, legal would have been sending us this policy written this way anyway.
Why?
Because they update policies on a periodic basis and the policy and say, this is what we recommend for your district.
I thought policies are updated based on our requests. Do they just?
No, they are not just on the board's request because we get legal mandates that we have to incorporate it in policy.
Right, but this was changed and addressed and visited because of what transpired with the I am Leo and hate you give.
That was
That
why
was what
that's why,
perpetuated this.
that's what caused me to pull the policy to see
Okay.
what the policy was
Okay.
and to see if there was a
So-
established committee.
Mhm.
Eventually, this would have come down the pipeline from legal anyway.
Okay, so I guess okay, that's your answer to your first part. The second part is, the original policy says that an elementary and a secondary classroom, an elementary and secondary principal or assistant principal, the library media specialist who shall serve as chairman committee, and 5 members of the community. So now it's been reduced to, based on the verbiage. Okay, so you've got 2 classroom teachers, which is fine. And then you say a principal or assistant principal. So is that a principal or an assistant principal at the same time? Is it one or
Or.
the other?
It's not and or. it's
Okay,
or.
so I would ask for that to be clearly delineated, that it's principal or assistant principal, not both. Because currently the reconsideration committee is not like that. The one that
I
we
can speak,
nominated.
I can
that-
speak from the legal issues that I've dealt with as a union president, or it's very clear legally. It's
Mhm.
one or the other. Legally, if they wanted to make it a possibility, you could have both, it would be and or.
Yeah, no, I don't really care if it's one or the other. I'm just saying that to me, if this would read to me principal or assistant principal, so we are all in agreement that that just means one. It's
Correct.
either gonna be the principal or an assistant principal,
Problem is not every building has an AP.
correct? But, and I get that. So that's why you have to put that in there. Okay, I just want to make sure that we're gonna do one or the other. Okay, and if we're all in agreement that that's what the language dictates, then I'm fine with that. The library media specialist, which is fine. And then, so if you do that, you have 2 classroom teachers, you have 1 principal, right? So that's 3. And then you have the library media specialist, that's 4. And now you want 3 community people. If this is a community-driven complaint, why are we top-heavy and lopsided on the admin versus community voice? I feel like we need to honor the community's concern and make sure that they're equitably heard on their concerns. And when you are presenting a committee that is already top-heavy on the admin side and you're putting them as the underdog, I don't think that's an attractive feature to a community member to speak out.
So it's not top heavy in admin. I mean, you've got an equal number of community members and classroom teachers.
That's not community,
Correct, but they're not, but
That's
teachers are not
not-
admin.
right, okay, so that's my verbiage.
And
I'm just
so,
saying,
and so, and
educators.
so in my mind, I want the people that are experts in that field
Mhm.
to have a greater weight than people that are not.
How can you say that when it's a community-driven complaint? Doesn't even make any
True,
logical
and the
sense.
community member can take it from, if they don't like the response there, to the superintendent. And then to the school board if they want, if they don't get the answer they want. So this is not the end all be all. This is the starting point. And at the starting point, I want the experts in the field, the people that are educational experts, or library experts, to be the ones that have not a super majority, but a slight majority, yeah.
Okay, I don't
I would
agree.
never advocate that our teachers come into a committee like that where they don't have a majority.
Okay, so I can tell you from sitting in the DEIB committee that because there are more educators there than community members, it is top heavy. And any thought process that comes from the community is not well received. I'm experiencing that right now. And I have expressed my opinion about that and we are going to be addressing it. So I totally disagree with that thought process. If this is a community-driven complaint, then the community voice should be
No,
appreciated and heard.
The complaint is community.
Right.
Right? But
Right.
the board to evaluate that educational material is not community driven. They're two separate things. The complaint is community driven because it comes from the community, it comes from a parent. But the process to evaluate that material needs to be separate from that complaint.
I get that, but you're still including less members of the community. So I get that. So like the two people that complained about I am Leo and hate you give cannot be part of the committee. I
Correct.
get that.
Nor should any of the teachers that are teaching that.
Completely understand, completely fair process. All I'm saying is that those three other people from the community that are getting picked have nothing to do with that. So you're already eliminating any bias. In fact, I have been told that the members of this committee could not have read the book before for this particular issue that we're having now. They
That would make
were not
sense.
allowed to read the book. And they were all going to be presented with the information, read it for the first time, and then form an opinion. So, on a basis of principle, like I feel like the policy committee has made a major change in the basis of this policy. You are taking authority away, which is a check and balance. People who put this policy together are not dummies. They thought about everything that had needed to be addressed. And now we're taking something and changing it without finding that it's broken because it finally arose. And now we're changing something that we have never even tapped into. We've never even used this policy before. I do agree with some of the changes. I do agree that the superintendent should be selecting the committee. Perfectly fine. I think that we have a proven track record that we support a lot of what you do. You and I have disagreed. And I had some concerns about some committee members. And what did I do? I supported your notion. But for you, for me to not be able to say, yes, I approve that committee because I think it's a valid committee and not have an avenue from the outset to express some concern, which he very graciously explained his position. And I was like, oh, that makes sense. And I'm good with that. But I have a hard time with someone taking the authority that I'm granted by virtue of my position here, which is only 3 things that we get to do and just give that up. So I have a problem with that. And I also have a problem that we are here to represent community members and we need to encourage them to come and talk and express their concerns. And if they're looking at a committee that there's more educators or there's more admin or whatever the story may be, it's going to be hard for people to think that they're going to be on the winning game. And yes, you're right. If they come with a decision and they don't like it, they can go to the superintendent will come to us and then we can, change it, whatever. But why do we want to get there? I think that what we need to do as a board is resolve things at the lowest level. Let's resolve at the lowest level so it doesn't come this far. So those are my issues with the policy. I don't know how anybody else feels, but I am not in agreement of the revisions. I think they're short-sighted and premature. So I did propose different verbiage. I did send it in an email of what I would be fine with. And revising the policy. If you want to revise the policy, I do definitely agree with the notion of selecting this committee ad lib. If it happens, let's select a committee. Let our superintendent choose the members, let our board approve the members, let it follow the process, and let's not shut down our community by outweighing them and not giving them a bigger voice. That's how I feel. I don't know how the rest of you feel, but that's my input.
I'd like to hear a little bit more about the disparity in the number. It was a 5-5, now it's going to a 4-3.
I mean, I honestly don't know why legal recommended the change. Dr. Schmiedel, do you?
They recommended the change for the reasons that we discussed at the the week before's board meeting. They suggested that our policy is not addressing the fact that you have a need that comes up and you need to address it. The other thing is that when the policy was originally put together, to add to what, John, what you were saying, and Lori's not here obviously this evening to speak for herself, and Tina is, but a part of that reconfiguration is the fact that when the original policy was intended, it was intended as one body, you serve the whole year, you serve the whole district. So the revision of the policy is to address issues when they come up, like we had with the articles that Millie mentioned. That we don't need, when you look at like the breakdown of like the community, the staff, we also don't have 2 administrators in there. And that was also cut back. So the idea was with the 5 community members, the district wanted to have representation at the elementary schools, the intermediate schools, the middle schools and the high schools, because back then or with the current policy, you never knew where the issue was going to come from. It may come from a kindergarten issue or 12th grade issue. And so you wanted a more broader representation of community because you wanted that pre-K through 12 continuum represented. And with this policy revision, which was recommended, as we said, by legal, the need wouldn't be there to have a pre-K through 12 representation if we're strictly addressing issues. If a pre-K issue comes up or a kindergarten issue comes up, we're addressing it at that building. And so we wouldn't need cross-representation from the entire community when we're trying to address an issue at that individual building. So that was the thought process behind it, to my understanding.
I have a problem with that because, again, if there were an issue at the kindergarten or elementary level, it would be a community-driven complaint because the policy states and the process is if a community member has a problem with instructional material, they are to fill out the form presented to the superintendent.
There's actually a step before that. The first step should be a phone call with Lynn.
Thank you.
Myself, a sit down, a conversation.
I apologize. You're absolutely right. And I think that's the level that it should end at, because I would think.
And in
that-
some cases, we'll be able
will
to
be.
resolve it there. In
Correct.
some cases, we can't for whatever reason.
Correct. So in terms of legal's perspective, again, that would never be an issue unless a community member had a problem with the instructional material. Again, it's community driven. There very few things the community has control over. And if they're going to speak out, I don't think we should drown them. And that's how I feel when you're cutting back. And again, I appreciate legal. I'm not an attorney, but I will say this again. We all live in this community. We know what our community feels. We know how we want to help them, and they don't live here. Legal doesn't live here. And I don't think that our community is going to take it well when something comes up and they've got to sit in a room with 5 people that work for the district in whatever capacity, and the 3 of them are sitting there like this. Like, I think that's an issue. It's an issue for me right now. And I have a big mouth, and I don't care what people think about me. And it's an issue for me to sit on the DIB committee. So if I feel that way, I can only imagine how lay people are going to feel. So I don't agree with that thought process.
My concern would be that if you stack the committee with community members, that potentially everything gets challenged. There are school districts in this country where the fact that slavery exists in a history textbook has been challenged.
Yeah, and I agree with you, and I don't think it should be stacked. I don't. I think it should be, if you're going to do 5, admin, then you go 1 up. I think it should be 1 more community member, not 1 more educator or district employee. I think it should be the other way around.
What if it was even numbers? You're talking 4 and we had 4.
You could do that, but Larry
You
made a
typically
very
want
good point.
or
Yeah,
doing something.
he made, yeah. we've talked about even, which it was even before, which I think was wrong too, it was 5 and 5.
Some of the reason why your school board is 7 or
Yeah.
5, it's or
Except
9.
that their decision is not definitive. It's a recommendation to you.
Yes.
So you could break tie essentially if that was, I mean, you have another internal, if you really look at the numbers, you have the superintendent who's really an internal member as well. So if I have any issue with it, it's the disparity. Any of us that have fought City Hall and anything know how frustrating it can be to not be heard. And it could be any one of us, even educators could have an issue, be on the other side of it. And so I always think of it from that perspective. I don't think it should be stacked either way. I think it should be, if it's anything, it should be equitable. But I don't think I would vote against it just for that, because again, ultimately, we have to have a faith and trust in our superintendent. And if something doesn't go right and it continues to be a problem, then we address it with our superintendent. So it isn't enough for me right there to be a point where
And I think in this case, there's a clear pathway if you do not agree with that first level decision to move it up the ladder.
So you're okay with the board being removed from approving a membership committee?
I am. I honestly don't want board fingerprints on this if it's going to come to the board as a final arbiter.
Well, you know, we're not on TV here. This is real life. Like we technically have our fingers on everything. If you really want to look at things like that, we really have our fingers on everything. So, you know, this is supposed to be open government. It's supposed to be transparent, and there's supposed to be a lot of trust between the board and the superintendent. I personally have a problem when there is a policy that has worked or not worked, who knows? None of us know because it's never been used. But to agree, you also have to remember, John, you're not going to be here forever. You're setting a precedent for all those people that come ahead.
But
of
I
us.
also know that if there is an issue with what happens at that committee, then it's going to end up in our lap anyway. We are going to be the final arbiter of that case, of that decision, and it's
that's-
going to work its way up to the elected officials that the community put here to make those decisions anyway.
I understand that, but there's a process. And I think as a board, it behooves us to oblige by what we are told to do. And our policy is okay, let's take it the other way. What's the downside from the board saying, if our superintendent, what if it's another superintendent? What if another superintendent comes in here and presents this, you know, committee that is just horrific for whatever reason? Then what are you gonna do? Like, we're all thinking about the moment. We're all not gonna be here for the rest of our lives. And there may be disparity between the superintendent and the board. We've seen that happen. That's why I'm sitting here. We've seen that happen. So we have to think about the future. And that's what the check and balance is for. Where is the shortcoming and where are we losing out? If our superintendent, we're probably gonna support everything we have a proven track record for doing that. But what if he retires? What if he leaves? Then what? Then what are you gonna do? So you can't think that way. I think I'm not good. I'm not good with not approving a membership for our reconsideration committee, specifically because it's a community-driven complaint. And I feel like that's who put us in this seat. We should be advocating for that. So everything you said, Larry, I agree with 100%. I think the process is good. It should be an ad lib. It should be designed, you know, when the situation takes place, you should be able to select, you know, the teachers better than we do. You should be able to select the convening the committee together. Come back, resolution, these are the members. You just presented a reconsideration committee. It passed unanimously. Did it not? It passed unanimously. We just voted on a reconsideration committee and we all voted and supported it. We should do that. It should come to the board. We've already done it. Come to the board. We've already exercised the policy. Right now, the way the policy is written, that's exactly what we're doing right now. Both of those items are with the reconsideration committee. We are actually practicing the policy and there's no flaw. I don't know what's going to be the outcome of that, and we may get to the last level when it comes to us, but just approving a membership doesn't put our fingerprints on the issue. It has nothing to do with the issue, actually, because we're not really making any decisions unless we disagree with the recommendation. I feel really strongly about that, and I think you need to reconsider what your position and your commitment is to the community. And I think,
We have a lot of committees in this district that are appointed by the superintendent that never come before the board that include community members.
and
We have to trust our superintendent to do his job and do it well.
not a community-driven complaint. Not as something that is driven by the community.
Can I just flip this for a second to the superintendent? I know what legal says and this is what's being recommended, but is this what you want in terms of how this is done in terms of your buy-in to this process?
I would say yes, with the explanation that I received, why I received it, how I received it, and the position that we were in when an issue did come up and we did not have the committee in place. Looking at the idea of focusing on the individual building and not looking at a district-wide issue. Looking at, we also lost an administrator serving on the team. It was 2, we're down to 1. So yes, with that. But the other thing I know is true with policy, and we've been doing that, and that is the board's primary responsibility out of the 3 functions. If there's ever a policy that does not meet the intended purpose, at any time, the board could ask the policy committee to say, I'd like you to look at this policy.
But that's just my point. Like, you just totally validated my point. This policy did not fail. In fact, we are exercising it as we speak. It never failed.
If we did not have a committee in place.
And whose fault was that? All of us, because none of us followed policy. And had those community members not looked at the policy, as I suggested at one of the board meetings, look at your policy and try to tap into how you can access, your complaints. And had they not done that, we would not be exercising the current policy. I agree with everything you say. I guess the other part of Randy's question is, do you think it's okay for you to designate a committee and have the board removed from approving that committee as a
To
matter
me,
of
at the end of
process?
the day, I know with the disciplinary situation, with this situation and many other situations, anything, I am a part of the appeals process. And that's what this governing part of the body is for. And so at any point, if there's a decision that I make, whether it's personnel related, student related, policy related, at any point, it ends at the Board of Education. And so I'm not taking it personally.
Yeah,
What I also don't want to discredit is the committee. We had a committee of Lori, Tina, and John who spoke about this. I was asked to place it on the agenda for board action tonight, as it is written. So, that's what I did, but I'm here to follow policies and make sure we
I
make
just
good
want to say
choices.
one last thing before I go, but I have high regard and respect for the committee process, so I'm always gonna defer to that. I think we need to respect that process and our colleagues who are on that committee, and I will do that. And I also put a lot of deference to the superintendent. I do think there's an escape clause here. If things don't go right, we have an ability to claw this back. So I'm willing to take a chance on this based on the recommendation of the committee and the superintendent.
I think this creates flexibility so we can be responsive to the community rather than waiting for board action.
that's not my issue. I don't think any of you are understanding. You're not really, verbalizing what I am saying. I don't have a problem with any of that. I have a problem with a policy stating that we need to approve a membership committee, and you guys are okay with saying, sure, we don't have to approve anything. That is my problem. To me, you are failing the community. There is a policy that is in process. It has never proven to be broken, and you're changing it for really no good other than we failed to follow the policy. And had this not come in front of the board, this would be null and void. We wouldn't even be looking at this had the hate you give and the I am Leo issue come up. So this is, again, community driven. It's a complaint driven. It's very disappointing to me that you think it's okay to give up your power as a board member to just approve the membership. You're not doing anything but approving. And at the end of the day, once the committee, who has the sole power to make the recommendation to the superintendent, if there's any flaw in that recommendation, I'm pretty sure Larry's gonna fix it before it gets to us. He's never gonna present anything to us that he doesn't feel we're gonna support him in. But I'm not sure why you think it's okay to give up an authority that's already been granted on paper and you're actually exercising it right now.
The authority is to create policy, not to approve committees.
Yeah,
So that's what I'm sticking with, is the policy. That's what we're talking about here. There are lots of things that happen here that we have nothing to do with. And in this case, it's here, but I'm trying to think of an instance where the board would disagree with the recommendation of the superintendent as far as the committee composition. And then that opens up a whole nother series of questions about our objectivity. I do have concerns about that. I don't want to take away authority of the board, but I feel embedded in this. There's enough authority that remains for us to make sure if this goes astray, we have an ability to bring it back.
so when this policy was first created, you think they failed in that thought process?
Not necessarily, but
Because
This is-
this was looked at in 2020.
I wouldn't have recommended the change, but this is what's before us right now.
I think times have changed and the information we have about what's going on in school districts in regards to this has been updated. I mean, the use of this policy and the frequency in which it gets used in some districts has increased since 2020.
Is there any way to continue discussing this before we vote on it? When Lori can be back, maybe?
I mean,
It would be nice to have the chair of the committee to weigh in. I've really only heard from one other board member on this. I'm not sure if either of you have any thoughts.
did you want to weigh in, Tina?
No, I think you guys did a great job. I just think we should, I mean, we put a lot of work and a lot of thought into this, the three of us and Dr. Schmiegel, and trying to be fair to everybody involved, the community and the admin and the staff and everything. And, you know, like you said, it's, you know, people are complaining about teaching slavery. So things have changed since 2020. And I think that we worked on this. I think that we all asked Dr. Schmiegel to put this on the agenda, and I think we did our best at trying to protect our community and our staff and our kids. I think we should move forward with it and take a vote so we can get all this taken care of.
So because I'm unhappy about it and it's difficult to tell that I'm unhappy about it, why can't we compromise? And my compromise is keep the policy as it is, but bring the approval back to bring the membership of the approval back to the board. What is the harm in that?
I think that we could, and I'd like to wait until Lori is here and have this full discussion, because I think that there is a very simple compromise that can happen here. I don't think that
It's the only thing that's really bothering me.
It doesn't seem this is that time sensitive. So if we pushed it.
That's what I'd agree. I think that there's.
And let Lori.
I think, yeah. I would be on board with that. Is anybody against that thought process? Well, that's the most silent you guys have been in 20 minutes. So I'm gonna motion to table it again then. So can I have a motion to table this? Randy, a second. Billy, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Table here.
Because they're all listed.
Yeah.
I will note that in. Resolved that the following educational student trips as the board are hereby approved. Roseman Gifford to date of the trip is May 14th, 2025, and an additional trip to the zoo on May 14th, 2025, 8 different classes.
Can I have a motion?
Millie?
Second. John, discussion. It's called Burnett Park.
Now you're dating yourself.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries.
whereas the New York State Education Department requires that school districts develop and implement a physical education plan that complies with the New York State Physical Education Standard, and whereas the Watertown City School District has reviewed and developed a physical education plan that meets the requirements set forth by the New York State Education Department, including promoting physical activity, fitness, and healthy lifestyles for students. And whereas the proposed physical education plan incorporates age-appropriate physical education activities, assessments, practices, and teacher professional development to ensure compliance with the New York State standards and support student growth and physical fitness and overall well-being. And whereas the plan has been reviewed by the district's administration, the physical education department and other relevant stakeholders for feedback and approval. Now therefore be it resolved, the Board of Education, the Watertown City School District hereby approves the physical education plan as presented for the 24-25 school year in accordance with the New York State physical education standards, and be it further resolved that the district administration is authorized to take all necessary steps to implement the plan, including providing appropriate resources, professional development, and support to teachers and students needed. Resolved that this resolution shall take effect immediately.
Can I have a motion?
John.
Tina and John, discussion.
Yeah, I have a couple of questions about this. So is this a new directive that we have to do?
This is something that has to be submitted by the
Okay.
state education.
And if someone can just educate me, I've never heard of the term of the, what is a physical adaptive PE teacher? What, I mean, I read what is on here, but I've never heard that. Is that also like a new term that?
That is definitely not a new term. It's
Okay.
a term. It's typically a service that is on a student individualized education plan.
Okay. And so have we had this already? Like, do we have a full-time person that does this
We added
specifically?
that this year to.
So,
make
so
sure we're
we,
meeting
that's
the
new
needs
then,
of our students, yes.
Okay.
Not providing the service, but the position.
the position. And so we will have one FTE providing physical services.
But on this campus,
On the-
between Wiley, Case, and the high school.
Okay. Do we hire that person yet?
We have a person in that position now. It's a long-term position right now. We're looking to fill it permanently.
Okay, so we do have someone.
We do.
Okay,
Just
We have someone
exciting.
interested, but that person is also covering for somebody.
Yes.
okay. So that's, we're moving in that direction. Okay.
Anything else? Okay, all those in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries.
See the resolution.
Very good. Anyone here tonight for non-agenda related public comment?
Say a couple things. I just wanted to advocate for some family and individuals. Recently, there was the boiler issue that caused the high school to be closed. And then following that incident, there was a letter that Dr. Schmigel sent to the entirety of the Watertown City School District regarding staying up to date on the closures or the delays that happen in the district because we're Snowtown USA, and so that season is approaching. And I just kind of wanted to speak to that. I don't have a student in the high school, so I can't personally say how the communication went to me because it wasn't designed for me. But there were a number of observations and family members who they didn't get that parent square information. It didn't come out. And so I think it's good to, market that option is to the community. I really question how accessible it is to all families and caregivers. Apps are really helpful. There's a lot of beneficial things that Parent Square has allowed. There's a lot of communications that do come through, and sometimes, the personal options with teachers or staff has been really great. But there's a lot of people who are saying they're missing
the other options. Of course, I know the other options probably come with a cost and there's reasoning. But there's people who don't have access to the app technology. They are hoping for a text message option. They are hoping for alternatives. I don't really know what the best solution is to advocate for. When I was a kid and I go back to how it was, you know, it was like there was always a radio on or you always watch the news. And in modern times, that's so often not the case. Our house is really silent in the morning. People are getting away from watching TV, but maybe they go on to a website. There's just a lot of different options out there. In the spirit of accessibility, I wanted to advocate for those families. There was an individual who is in charge of a residential program, and she has, you know, students in her care who come to this district, but is not a family member. So Parent Square is not an option for them. They happen to see a Facebook post. If they hadn't checked Facebook, they would have been in the same boat as other individuals who showed up at school that day. I know that it's been said multiple times that Parent Square is the only option. I'm just pushing out for accessibility for as many families to be in the loop that is conducive to improving attendance rates. As an aside to that, I think that's what brought me to this really random search on the school district website. Speaking of accessibility, there is an accessibility page for every school and then one for the entire district. The one for Case, I don't know if anybody has found it since I put my feelers out there within the last few days, but the one for Case has not been updated since 2017. And it is the completely blank form that needs to be filled in. So if you have a concern about accessibility, you're supposed to notify your school at, you know, it's just all the generic stuff. It needs to be updated with the case specific email. It seemed like all the other schools were fine, the district was fine. I wasn't looking for it. I was searching for something and it brought me to that page. And I was like, that doesn't look right.
Kristen, what did the principal say when you called her to tell her about that? Mrs. Cook?
So for that one, I did not reach out about that. It's just came up
If
to,
anyone has any issues with communication, my suggestion would be to follow our communication flow chart and go to the.
where's the
first-
flow chart?
That is
Everybody
also-
always suggests the
That is
flow
also
chart.
on our website.
Okay, is it very,
And at the end, we can show you how to get there so that you know, but it is on there and it talks about like specific schools and where to click on, who to go to. What we really want is the person that has the answer to those questions to be given the first opportunity to answer them. And if they can't, then we move depending on where we go on the flow chart.
Okay.
The accessibility piece, I know you mentioned text message as opposed to Parent Square. I guess that my question is, would a text message and a Parent Square both go to a phone? Because we also did the news, we did News Channel 7, so we put it out on News Channel 7 also. And I'm just thinking if it's text messaging, then they have to have some kind of device.
so sometimes the option with text versus the app is they don't have access to internet necessarily to be able to, what am I trying to say? They don't have,
It could be a phone without Wi-Fi access or something.
Well, it'd be a phone without an app store, is that what you're saying? Like
Basically.
a flip phone.
yeah.
I see.
Limited acts, like they might get access to text messages, but not utilize it for
I see.
apps. And there, I know there is, because I went in and tried to relook at the settings. I don't have I do not have I have my settings put in a particular way because like we wish all of our students to be off their phones during the school day. Part of that is distraction. I want to get important communications, but a lot of the communications and a lot of the parents back me on this, they don't pertain to their student and they're just bombarding them all day long. And so that's why they use that digest setting. And that digest setting is actually what's in the app. It says, we recommend this setting is the digest. So your communications just come at once at the end of the day, unless whoever is sending the post puts it in as an urgency, right? I did notice when I was looking at those settings that there isn't text option in there. But I want to explore that personally a little bit. I believe I had that on at one point, and that text message it's not just emergencies, like it's texting you all sorts of extra stuff. So in the spirit of not making your phone a big distraction piece and keeping it to those really urgent situations, I just, that text option or phone option or just keeping that thought process in mind that the app is not the most accessible option for everybody. And I hope that there might be some consideration for the potential to include maybe some alternatives. Everybody's different. I think that we've had the option in the past, whether we wanted to opt in to the phone calls or not. I don't remember the specifics, but everybody I spoke to about this recent situation had a different opinion. I like having the phone option. I don't like the phone option. It goes off too early and I don't need it to come to me that early. Just trying to speak to that a little bit.
Okay, thank you so much. Anyone else?
One phrase, the student advisor, this is on the agenda, but I just want to say about, it's gonna be a tough choice next spring. Who to pick for the winner of the democracy award.
You're gonna have a nice selection of kids.
Yeah. Not easy to find, that's for sure. Sure Connor Brown be involved in choosing it. Make clear that we can't win twice in a row.
No.
I'd be happy to know that he had, with the other two vending machines that he asked for, the one was delivered to Case, and the other one's been delivered to Wiley, so we're working with community partners to fill those. And actually, in today's meeting, he commented and he said, I have to come up with a transition plan. Like, I'm graduating, and I need to know who's gonna take over the project when I leave. And so he was eyeing a seventh grader. He goes, that is the future of Connor Brown. Did you hear him say that? There was a little kid over here, it's like, that's the future of Connor Brown, so there may be someone taking it over in seventh grade.
That's awesome.
Cool.
That was something. The second thing is about, read a book about Bob McQuaid, Attack from Within, and it talks about how disinformation permeates society and how important fact checking is to society. Otherwise, I mean, if you have an opinion based on much information, how good is that opinion? Especially, we're changing administrations right now to figure the base of our country is a democracy. We still are a democracy. And important to remember that. We still need fact checking. Important for the country. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Kim. Anyone else? Kevin Todd, nothing? Okay. As long as I'm sitting here, it's coming up every 2 weeks, yeah. All right. Items for discussion and information. We have two things tonight. A, selection of library multimedia materials policy are first.
Hello, I'm Jamie Lee. I am the case librarian. I have some of my fellow librarians with me tonight. Nicole Stratton, who's at North, Jean Hinckley, who is at Wiley, and Val Robert, who is at Starbuck and Knickerbocker. And also Stacy Netto is here as a library assistant at Wiley and the high school. So thank you for all for coming. So with board policy, as we know, it comes up when there is an issue that happens in district, or there's something that's recommended by legalese, as you said earlier. So in this case, with this policy, it was actually written due to some thing that came. So you either revise it, which we had nothing because Dr. Schmingel wanted to see if there was actually a board policy related to selection of library multimedia materials, which we would revise. And in this case, there was none. So then this is what was created for you based on recommendations by legal, by the policy. You have a policy service, I assume, as well. So, and then as a librarian, we took a look at it. Thank you, Dr. Schmigel, for allowing us to be the experts in the field and be able to provide that assistance. This is really hard for me to present because at no time should you ever put multiple tons of stuff on a slide. But because of the fact that you are approving policy, you actually have to see the policy to be able to see it. So that is why there is quite a bit on there. You can, oh, I can click, okay. Awesome, thank you. So basically the policy starts off by describing what the program is and related to print and library materials. Any material in the library, please know that can always be used as instructional material. So you have to include that into the policy in relation to instructional materials as well. And then we always reflect New York State learning standards, different points of view, and we always try to meet the very needs and interests of students and staff. There is the definition of instructional material. That is because it's facilitated through formal and informal learning within the classroom. You can happen in the library, it can happen anywhere in district, and there's multiple pieces of material. I am not going to read those all for you. You can see them, but it is not just hardcover books. It's not just textbooks. It's a wide range of different things from microfilms, pictures, maps, so forth and so on. Okay. And as it says, that instructional material can be housed in the classrooms as well as in the library as well. So library material has its own definition. It is also not just print and non-print. We also deal with a lot with our library materials online databases. And we also do a lot of interlibrary loan from other libraries, which this also covers. We do a lot with newspapers, magazines, so forth and so on. But we pretty much have most of the material that resides in the library media centers, unless obviously it's checked out and is in a classroom. Always have to give a meaning of textbook. The idea of a textbook has changed drastically over since many of us have gone to school. And we have to look at the fact that it's now including books, not only hardcover and paperback, but workbooks, manuals, and there's tons of now instructional material available textbook-wise through electronic format, which is crazy that we're getting to that point. So here's just the aspects of where it goes to textbooks that selection adoption that happens through the Board of Education. It's based on the law and board policy, which obviously you guys are reviewing tonight to help assist that. And then any objection should be handled in accordance with the board policy that you were previously talking about, and any other regulations and procedures. So based on the fact of the policy, which is great, is that you establish and maintain library media centers in each of the schools, and that you allow us to have library and instructional material within those spaces to be able to actually make it a library media center. They're supposed to meet the needs of elementary, secondary staff, and that it ensures that it's complementing any instructional program that takes place within district. And that's where we actually, as librarians, are there for. We are there for the students, the staff, and big resources for many individuals in the community, in the community in general as well. And obviously, and you have to certify us, you have to have a certified librarian, especially at the high school level, the middle school level. And we are lucky in our district to have many certified librarians, and that's a testament to you guys supporting libraries, which is fantastic. And then obviously following all that regulations and everything approved by the Commissioner of Education. Okay, and not all of us are here tonight, but you also delegate us as the experts in our field to be able to choose those library materials for the district. We do work properly with anybody in district, from the superintendent all the way down to the students themselves. Okay, so they have an understanding that we are always looking to provide their interests and needs. And we also want to make sure we're providing the stuff for staff as best as we possibly can. We also have to identify, order, and organize the library, which is a lot of work. And as I get further into that, I'll explain that just a little bit. And we also, as I said earlier, we use BOCES to be able to also provide additional materials and to build our collections, and we have a lot through that. So as, just so you know, these are all the libraries you entrust, as they're all not here tonight. Abby Wilcox is not able to be here, and Terry Miller and Allison Spooner. So, thank you for entrusting us. We appreciate it. And so we always have to talk about money because that's one of your 3 things that you're able to do, as we know. You provision funds to us to budget. Sorry, I have experience. Some of you do know that I am actually a board member at another district. So I've been on there for 12 years. So I have quite a bit of experience on this end. So you provide us the budget to purchase our library materials. And we also may require students to actually pay for any lost or excessive damage or redo materials. So here goes to the selection and how we actually select our material. So the board range and varying suitability of all forms of library materials, and I'm only reading this just because it's so important, which are available for purchase, demand careful evaluation before they are selected for use in the district's library and media centers. It takes us a very long time to actually select books to be included into our libraries. I just did a previous, you just got it, an order. And it took me about 3 weeks to give over about 150 books because the amount of time it takes me to do all the reviews, making sure I'm getting the best material and at a very cost effective to ensure we're giving enough back to our students. So we also have free and low cost materials that do come to us from individuals, and we have to use the same criteria based on the stuff that I will be going over in a little bit. And you have to understand that it's not just print and not print materials. I just actually did our non-print, our through Sora, that allowed us to use online our ebooks for our students.
And I want to just, Jamie, highlight that piece, that free or low cost materials. That was one of the pieces when we met. I jumped in on their library media meeting to discuss this policy. And that was one of the recommendations of our trusted librarians to add that piece. Oftentimes, as a former high school principal, I know this, many people would come and they would try to deliver free materials to the schools, but they didn't necessarily meet the mission statement, vision, and those things of the district. So we added that to this policy.
Okay, so based on selection, these are the things that we really have to focus on. We have to ensure that we're meeting New York State learning and curriculum standards, that they also implement, enrich, and support the district's curriculum and various programs. And as we said before, we always have to consider the interests, the abilities, and their learning styles of every student. We also have to include that with staff. And then we also are selecting appropriateness for age, ability level, learning styles, social, emotional, and intellectual development of the attended audience. I read that specifically because we have a wide range of students in each of the areas. You have a K-4 building. Those students have different varying experiences. They have different emotional and intellectual levels. And we always have students, as we know, that when we always try to increase rigor and ensure that they have various independent readings that allow us to provide them with material that they would be interested in. And we also have to present various sides of controversial issues because we want to ensure that we're developing those critical thinking skills along with the reading skills to ensure that they are truly making informed decisions as citizens of our community. Oops, oh, there we go. Okay, we also, in the course of that, actually have to provide global perspectives. So we have a lot of different authors. We try to choose authors that are not just those in the United States, across internationally. And we also try to promote diversity around with that we're not just a singular individual type of author, that we hit all aspects because everybody has a great voice that they can provide to students. And we also make sure that we are providing updated materials that have varying difficulties, and we want to do it in a variety of formats because not all children will want to read a physical book. We also look at audiobooks and so forth to ensure that they're getting the ability to use different modes. And we want kids to explore a diverse thing of literature because we want them to be lifelong learners. You don't go into becoming a librarian if you don't want a lifelong learners and readers. I'll add that to it. Yes. So, okay. So this is how we begin to look at our collection and develop our collection. We take, as I said previously, suggestions from teachers, administrators, and parents. We take a look at the amount of materials that are requested, what is currently in our catalog, which does our collection analysis to ensure that we are keeping up to date with the material, because that's very crucial. Many times, like I just recently looked at all my classics. Well, all the classic books, the covers looks about probably from the 1970s. Sorry for those that were in that age range and around that time. They looked exciting back then. To a child today, the 1970 cover does not make. So I actually removed all the classics from my my collection and I updated them with new covers to replace that. So that's one of the things you guys don't necessarily get to see. You get to see us read our collection because that comes to you as a board, but you don't get to see that we're actually doing in the background, which is sometimes in that case replacing those materials. We definitely, like I said, talk about the intended audience, the age group. We look at those type of things. I will let you know that age rating is basically very subjective. It happens where different reviewers from like Book List, School Library Journal, Porn, Kirkus Review, we go through all this and everybody, depending on what they're reading, determines what they believe is the best recommended age range. And it can vary. I just looked at a book today that recommended 10, 12, and then some other one was saying 7 to 10. I'm like, well, we're a little off here. So you try to take that's why it takes so long, because they have to look at everyone and why they're suggesting those different age ranges. You also have to look at currency and timeliness. I just removed a book recently that said they can't wait to see what Steve Jobs does in the future. And I'm like, well, I'm sorry to say, rest in peace, Steve Jobs, but you are no longer alive. So those are books that we have to make sure we're taking a look at and to ensure that the kids are getting updated information. Recently, last year, I removed quite a few books from the catalog because many of our biographies, the people had actually passed away and they were still saying they were alive. And it was 20 years ago, they hadn't even updated many of their accomplishments. So you have to kind of take those out because you don't want kids to think, okay, I'm going to the library and picking up a book and it's 20 years old and doesn't even have relevant information. Should I trust what they're actually having in the library? So those are things we have to take into consideration. As I said, look at national, state, and standards and any awards and distinctions that come through. And we always want to make sure there's multiple perspectives, viewpoints, and experiences. These are pretty much as I kind of already referenced. We want factual accuracy, authoritativeness. Obviously, the appeal is so important. These kids see so many things visually today. If you've looked at a new cover of a book, most of those books are now visually appealing because you're not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but we all do, and so do the kids. So those are things that we take in consideration as well. And then obviously we want to make sure there's the merit of work, the relationship to the collection as a whole, and then we're including everything from religion, gender expression, sexual orientation, political views, race, nationality, and social views. We're almost there, guys. We're almost there. Okay. So this is going back to the maintenance and leading of the collection. So we continually have to reevaluate it. You have to recognize, I don't know how long some of you have been on the board, but the librarian, so this is my 6th year in district. So it's been 6 years since you actually had an official librarian in almost every single building. The collections had never had a chance to be weeded. So last year alone, I took out 900 books, okay? Because of the fact that most of them were almost 40 to 50 years old. I am now working on the 25 to 20-year-olds. So it takes time to actually get through that and then update that collection. And I know all my fellow librarians are trying to do the same thing on top of teaching classes that we also do. So please know we care about the library, we care about our students, and we want to make sure they have the most valuable collection they can. So we look at circulation stats. I also, just to use an example, when I first came to Case, I had 15 copies of Twilight, okay? Twilight, yes, is still a little bit of a popular book, but it's not to the level of 15 copies. I am now down to 2, okay? So those are things we have to take into consideration as well. Obviously, things are poor in condition, such as damaged spine, torn pages, and staining, which cannot be easily repaired. That'll also come to you. I had a book that I purchased, brand new, it was gorgeous, it was on zoology. Kid had it, within 2 days, he brought it back to me, and it was completely apart. There was no way to fix it. I had to actually remove it to the collection. I was kind of disappointed because it was gorgeous, the inside of it. but those are things that do happen, and obviously we have to discard that material if it's, we cannot fix it in any way or shape or form. Obviously, we take out materials that are accurate, out of date. I can give you examples of that. And then we do also remove materials that do not no longer meet the policy, so forth and so on. As we have found over the course of time, materials actually do change in age rating. And so we take a look at that and ensure that those are still considered at the level that they need to be able to ensure that the collection is meeting the elementary level, the YA level, so forth and so on. And because I use, and I'm a librarian and I have to utilize my resources, the pictures I used, those are where I took them from. So I made sure to quote my sources because that's what we also teach. Any questions? And I project my voice because I have to all day as a librarian. And so I'm talking to a big group, I still do it. So I apologize if I'm yelling at you.
I have a few questions.
Okay.
So when you define here the instructional material versus the library material, that's really good. I like that you did that. So I guess my question is, Lynn, what's your role as the assistant superintendent of curriculum in this process? Like, do you work with her?
Yes, we meet
And how do-
regularly.
So in here, it says that ultimately the material, it says that the principal, the building principal ultimately decides what is appropriate material. So I just want to know what the process is in doing, you're obviously doing a lot of hands-on in selection. So do you do all your hand-on selection and then she goes to you and then you approve it? Or are these independent?
How it works in any library, any school library, at the library, is once we do it, we take it to our principal, the principal reviews what we've gone over, they ask any questions that they have regarding our material. We then, and they sign it, we send it up to Lynn, who then reviews it. If she does have any questions related to any of the material, she obviously contacts us via email or phone, depending on what she's questioning. She then signs it, then it goes to the business office, and then they purchase the order.
And that's for both library and instructional material?
That I cannot speak on instructional material, that's the library aspect of things.
Yeah, instructional material is different.
So who's in charge of the instructional material?
I am.
Just you?
Well, I wouldn't say just me. I would say it's a collective, a collaborative amongst the teachers.
But ultimately, you know what's, ultimately you are approving curriculum material and instructional material.
That's correct.
And you're mostly responsible, and I'm assuming you work with the rest of the librarians for library material.
Yes, we
Okay.
only focus on library material.
Okay.
Jamie, thank you. This has been very helpful. I had a question about, you talk a lot about controversial subjects and multiple viewpoints. So if you bring in a new book, it has this viewpoint. Is it a 1-for-1 or is it looking at all the other things we have on that topic? Just walk me through how you reconcile the multiple viewpoint piece.
Okay, so what's fantastic about most books today is that you can add, they do sets or collections where you can actually go in. So if you're looking at something related to slavery, or you're looking at something related to journalism or government, you can actually buy a collection that goes through and actually looks at all the different viewpoints of something and purchase that collection as a whole. And that's what we kind of try to look at, so then we're consistent and the kids are seeing those different things. There's also books that say opposing viewpoints, and we also have a database that actually has that as well. So we try to ensure that that goes throughout. In general, when we talk about that specifically, different viewpoints, is you're looking at viewpoints as of that you're getting it from African-American, Native, Hispanic. So those are types of things that we also look related to viewpoints when they're talking of a specific topic. Yeah.
And you talked about, and I like this, you take suggestions from parents. Is that unsolicited or do you sometimes actually ask parents?
To be honest, we just tell anybody if they have a recommendation to us to let us know. I will be honest, I don't necessarily go to the teachers. I don't go to the students. I don't go to them directly every single time I order a book. I just kind of put it out there. Hey guys, I'm ordering. If you guys have any suggestions, let me know. I will be honest, I've never put it out to like, hey parents, I'm ordering, let me know. But I do that as but I want to be honest. Like it's like I said, it takes so much time, and here's the thing, we're in our buildings with our colleagues. I communicate with my colleagues all the time and I'm like listening to what they're saying or what they're teaching or what they're doing. So, I mean, I don't know if we ever physically just say, hey, give me a recommendation. I'm like, oh, you're teaching this. Did you see any good books on that you might suggest to me? That's kind of how we go about it. Am I answering that right, my fellow librarians?
Yeah.
And
Like,
with
I don't-
regard to student requests, we keep a wish list generally. So when they come to us with a request, or if there's a certain series that they seem to be interested in, we keep adding it to the wish list so that when we are ready to prepare an order, we have somewhere to go to look for those.
And we create that relationship with kids. My kids come up to me all the time. Mrs. Lee, you don't have this book. Can you look about getting it for me? And I'm like, yep, I got it on my list. I'll take a look. Because there is sometimes they've recommended stuff that is very adult. And I'm like, I gotta check on that real quick. So, yeah, so that's another thing that we have to go in their process. And we do always warn them. We have to vet it. We have to take a look at it. And we can't guarantee that it will be added to the collection, but we'll try our best.
Well, just that they know they can offer
Oh, yeah.
that. And tonight, you told me something I didn't know about that. So I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I also want to highlight that I appreciate that you detailed the process by which you go through book selection and also how you get rid of the books. Because as you know, there was this huge notion a while ago that we were banning books when all you were really doing is just cleaning house for inappropriate, outdated material. So I
Or
think.
duplicates. You gotta always remember
Yeah.
that, like I said, 15 times, you saw Twilight 15 times, like. It's not like I'm getting rid of Twilight because we don't want to read it anymore. It's just, I can't, if you want to give enough collection for kids and have the space to do that, you can't keep holding on to like so much, like, we go through our
Had
book
that
sets too.
conversation, the high school specifically, because we're looking at renovating that space. Right now, there's a lot of high shelving units that have a lot of blind spots in that library. So in order to reduce the number, the size of the bookshelves, we're gonna have to reduce the collection. But also that was not highlighted in the thing that you're referencing was lost, damaged, stolen.
Yeah.
I mean, and a lot of those ones that were pulled up in the main article weren't even at the campus. They were being discarded because they were lost, damaged, or stolen.
Right.
How long does it take for a lost or stolen book to come off though?
Well, in our system, we actually keep the loss for a little bit because there's been a book that's come back at 3 years later. But we consider it discarded and then we actually have to re-add it back to the collection because it is taken out even through as soon as it hits us. Stacy can add, let's see, yeah, Stacy's a phenomenal at this.
I had one come back after 8 years.
Oh, look at that,
8
look at that.
years. I couldn't
Yes.
believe it.
You finally returned it.
We have a really. I think it might have. We have a nice function on our library system. We can pull up how many are in our collection. We can pull up how many titles we have versus how many holdings. Titles being Twilight, 15 would be one title, but it could be 15 holdings. So that number doesn't always look the same. But I can tell you right now, we've got roughly 23,000 books in the high school and roughly 32,000 at Wiley. Wow. So when you see 900 books coming out of the library, not even a drop in the bucket. And the hours I could tell you they spend weeding those 900 books goes well beyond the 3 weeks that she spends building a book order. The amount of work that goes into running the library, part of the library, is beyond comprehension until you are actually physically there. So I appreciate the support of the libraries in our buildings because not every school in New York State has that. I don't want to say luxury because it's not a luxury. To me, it's the foundation of all learning. It is essential, absolutely essential. So I appreciate your support and having her do this presentation for understanding. And it's so comprehensive. You did a great job.
How much usage do the libraries actually get from the kids?
Well, it's different at each level. So right now, the elementaries teach classes, so they see every single child in the building. They are on a 6-day cycle, so you're still on a 6-day cycle. Why am I talking elementary? Go ahead.
It varies depending on the buildings, the elementary school children, I believe, probably spend more time in the library because the little kids and they come in for not just lessons, but they'll come in and out just to exchange books. I'm sure it continues on at Wiley.
Wiley's the same.
Yeah.
do a Monday through Friday schedule, so every child gets to come to the library at least once a week.
Yeah.
But we also have a pass system, so they can come when they're ready to read something new.
And at Case, we have instituted where, I have, my schedule every day is booked. I have classes coming in every single day. And I'm connecting with all special areas, except for health, as of right now. But then I have English teachers, social studies teachers, coming in and they're doing projects. And so I see all 600, I almost know every kid's name in the building by right now. Because of the fact that the library is used every day, all day long.
That's great. Great.
Yes. And they're checking out books too. So please, they're learning from me, but they're also getting books. So I just want to add back to that thing. So you will be seeing a huge reading list for me by the end of the year, and the high school will have one as well. So about 600, probably 600, 900 books again for me.
Okay, Jason will try to find them all.
But here, let me add that last piece.
Twilight.
Please, let me add this one piece, and I think we forgot this. Every book that we do read, unless there is such incorrect information or it's damaged and unbelievably, the kids get to take the books that we take out of the collection. So please don't think that they're going in the dumpster, only if it's so incorrect information that we couldn't put out, that the kids do, and the teachers actually get access to that material.
That's
So that was something I should add. I should have.
Free part for staff and students.
Yes. So if you do want that book you returned 8 years ago, you
Shoot
can
me an
stop it. Okay. Anything else? I know you guys have been here a long time, so I do not want to keep, if you do have any further questions, obviously send them to Dr. Schmiegel, and then I'll be more than happy, and any of the librarians here will be more than happy to answer any of the questions you throw his way.
Jamie, thank you very much, and the rest of you for presenting. Our hope is to bring hope is to have this policy at the next Board of Education meeting for approval, so that we can go ahead and move forward with new purchases and weeding out. Be weeded out.
Thank you. So Jason, do we have the approval to?
Yes.
You still not always.
Thank you very much. Can we leave now?
Hey, you lose more folks. Next up, BOCES personnel and payroll audit report by Tina Lane.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to be here this evening. I did a presentation in August regarding personnel office, payroll office, and pleased to be here and to report some audit results. For those of you who are Latin students, the word audit comes from the Latin word audere, which is to hear. So we heard a lot of different things from our BOCES colleagues. They're great partners with the district, and we learned, and actually we've hit the ground running with the results. So I'm here to share those with you. Before we do that, I just want to give you a little bit of background. Let's advance this slide if we could. There we go. Maybe.
All right, that was it. Report of the night.
Surrounded by tech people here.
Start the slideshow.
Tell us to unplug it.
Yeah.
Turn it off, turn it back.
Start slideshow.
Solve 90% of the problem.
So what do you think?
It worked earlier.
Yes, it did. You want to tap that up there? Chair, would you be able to do that for us? Maybe it's just something with mouse.
Slideshow's having a problem.
There we go. Perfect. Third time's a charm. All right. So before I get into the audit results, just wanted to give you a little bit of background. The backbone of everything we do in our district is our strategic action plan. So it's very important as we reflect on what we do for systems and practice in the district is to go back to these 5 goals, which are central to all that we can do. So we're looking to improve, looking for enhancements so that we're able to progress forward with our 5 goals here with our strategic action plan. So logistics, Ms. Mary Ann Dobmeyer Jefferson Lewis BOCES Human Resources Administrator visited the district. She's a retired superintendent, assistant superintendent, and she's working with BOCES now, and it was a pleasure to work with Mary Ann. True pleasure. She was here for the months of September, part of September and October. And she reviewed all processes within the personnel office, hiring practices and procedures, and also payroll practices and procedures. Remember, we're a staff of 4. I have an assistant, Lisa Worden, and then payroll, we have Nancy Laverty and Maria Denner. So we're 4, an office of 4 for about 900 employees in the district. We had 19 administrators, building and central office staff, and clerical staff, building, payroll, and personnel who were interviewed. So Marianne was very busy during the audit, but she had a nice, well-rounded view. She reviewed the district's policies, documentation, and she conducted interviews with relevant personnel to assess the efficiency and effectiveness of payroll and personnel processes. And she also took a close look at the structure of our personnel files. If you go to our office, we have 6 filing cabinets filled with over 900 personnel files. So it's quite a vast collection of information regarding our employees. So the objectives of the audit were to evaluate the efficiency and effectiveness of human resources personnel, and also to evaluate the efficiency and effectiveness of payroll processes and practices. And finally, to provide recommendations to increase the efficiency and effectiveness of the personnel and payroll processes and practices of the district. All right, so let's get into the audit findings for human resources. So I presented to the board last year and then over the summer regarding our exit interviews, and those we gleaned valuable information. So Mary Ann took a look at the process of the exit interviews. Of course, those are completed online, paper copy. I also do them live and in person. I've done a few of those over the last couple of weeks. Based on the review of the completed exit interview forms, the following themes and trends have significance. The training, mentoring, and communication of job expectations needs to be increased and enhanced. Continued focus on improvement of student behavior is needed, and increased emphasis on the needs of individual students and a better understanding of special ed by teachers is needed. And also compensation needs to be looked at for support personnel. So we're going to continue as a district to employ a student success specialist to work on those student behaviors. She and her team, she was here earlier, Crystal Wargo, continue to work with our teachers, administrators, and students, provide training in CPI. We have a training.
Comment there. So last week there was a workshop that was provided to the entire district. And Matt Burdick had over 90 employees, 90 employees attend an autism awareness training last week at the end of the week. Great.
We were so pleased to hear that from Matt and his team. Training in CPI. Last evening, a training was conducted. Tomorrow night will be part 2 of that. Paraprofessional training. We have Parabytes. We're providing time for special ed class staff to meet to plan for students' IEPs. We're also very excited about facilitating a mentoring program for our support personnel, our TAs and aides. That's in progress as well. Also, I provided Matt with access. We work through a company, Vector. It's through Utica National. All of our required videos at the beginning of the year are provided there. Matt has now full access to that bank of trainings for special ed. So he's able to go in and assign the training to our staff as well. So we're trying to really improve our process of front-loading training, especially for our special ed aides and TAs, to help them to be better prepared as they enter into the realm of working with our special ed students. Benefits everyone. So the second audit finding was the reference check process. And as you know, we've really improved this process as well. They recommend that we should continue this practice with the reference check forms coming back to the Assistant Superintendent of Personnel and Student Services as a final step prior to offer of employment. So the administrators who were interviewed indicated that this is a good process, and they have discovered that this is a uniform process that is used in other school districts. So the administrators and directors are now doing the telephone reference checks. They have a form. They can do it hard copy. They can do it online, submit it to me. I vet each and every one of the reference checks. We have nice discussions, and it's a great opportunity for our administrators to get to know potential new employees as well. So we're going to continue that process using the providing form that I just talked about. And again, I'll continue to review all those forms. All right, so we have something called a
tenure recommendation form. Dr. Schmiegel had mentioned that he's been in classrooms. We had somebody recommended for tenure this evening. He was in Trista's classroom. And we have a form that all of our administrators fill out during the tenure year. It's actually a quite expansive form. It has everything from attendance to their APPR scores, their grade assignments, their extracurricular activities, if they were an advisor or facilitated maybe a STEM club, that all goes on here. And then 3 areas of strength, areas of professional growth. So it's a really reflective document that the principal fills out before the teacher achieves or doesn't achieve tenure.
That was something we put into place last year because I was going into rooms without prior knowledge of what was going on and a true picture. And so that was something that we instituted that she's saying keep doing.
Yes, exactly. As a high school principal in a former district myself, we did these forms and it was very helpful. And in fact, I contributed my own opinion into this because the auditor found that the administrators interviewed indicated that this formalized process provides for a mechanism to point out any areas that teachers may need to work on prior to being recommended for tenure so that they can be given assistance and appropriate decision can be made, which is the most important decision. Dr. Schmiegel and I often have this conversation, is recommending somebody for tenure. Some administrators suggested that this form be completed every year on the teacher's progression rather than waiting until the final year of the probationary period. The district should continue the practice of having administrators complete this form and should consider annual completion of the form, so potential issues can be addressed in a timely manner. And that's exactly what we're going to do. This form will continue to be utilized by building principals. The form is to be filled out once per year during the first 2 to 3 years of the teacher's tenure. And then actually mid-year during the teacher's tenure year, and then right before they achieve tenure, 2 times that last year.
Tina,
Yes.
if a teacher is up for tenure and for some reason they don't get it, do they get told why they didn't get it?
Yes, and that, I'm glad you asked that, Tina, because they could be put on a teacher improvement plan. We've worked with Kevin and his team on teacher improvement plans where it's it's part of our APPR plan, actually. There's a format. So there's areas for improvement, who's going to be involved in getting there, what are the strategies, the teacher and the principal, they meet, they go over the plan, each person signs, and then they work on those different areas of maybe areas of improvement. So yes, they're definitely told why. Absolutely. Great question. All right, number 4. Many of you, all of you have heard about the STAR behavior analysis framework. This is something that Dr. Schmiegel brought with him from his former district, and we're finding great success with the STAR system. It's a very objective system when we do interviews. STAR stands for situation, task, action, and result. And the bottom line is we ask interviewees to tell a story. So tell us about your philosophy on classroom management. They're not only going to tell us the philosophy, they're going to tell us how it looks, maybe an example of their teaching or their administrating that they've used, that particular process. So this is a model standardized interview protocol that's being utilized for administrative interviews only at this point. The district should continue use of this framework for administrative interviews and consider expansion of its use to candidates for other positions. For example, teacher candidates. So we're looking as a district to start during the winter of 2024, using this framework to be extended to teacher interviews as well.
Does that framework take you any longer than what a standard interview would?
It takes a little bit longer because what we do, John, is we brainstorm what we want to see in our next 3rd grade teacher at Sherman, let's say. So we do that first. It's worth the time
And
because
once
then
you take that time, it applies to everybody you're interviewing.
exactly,
Right.
right. It's up there on the wall. We take it down, we do the interviews, we put it back up, and then we discuss at the end who met all or most of these. We don't mention names though. That's the other really neat part about it. All right, so staff position demographic training is the next tracking, excuse me. So we're going to be developing by December 1st a spreadsheet. So we have something that we call the yellow sheet. But this is a new employee hire checklist that Lisa and I fill out. She fills it out initially. And then when I hire somebody, I fill in the information regarding column and step, salary, hourly rate. What we would like to do and what we're going to do by December 1st is develop a spreadsheet that has everybody that we hire in one spot. So it'll be a uniform spreadsheet. It's a system. It's a system we need to develop so that we can track things like tenure date, probationary period, the individual being replaced, the union, the starting salary. That's all here for each individual employee, but we want to put it on one sheet.
Tina, would that one also cover the Excel spreadsheet include their certifications?
Yes, exactly, because that's something that we'd like a directory of what everybody's certified in. Absolutely. All right, a personnel file audit. Like I said, we have over 900 personnel files in our office, locked in filing cabinets. So the recommendation, the auditor reviewed the structure of personnel files. The review revealed that material appropriate to an employee's personnel file is being maintained in these files. Separate files are maintained in the accountant's office or by the senior account clerk typist desk for healthcare and dental enrollment, TRS and ERS enrollment, I-9, IT 2100 forms. So what we'd like to do, our files need to be cleaned up. I'll pull a file and I'll see things like evaluations in the teacher's file. Those don't go in there. So we would like to recommend, and we would need help with this, is to have a file. So Tina Lane's file would have a green folder, maybe for my payroll information, a red folder for my application, a blue folder for board appointment dates, things like that. So within that file, and I've seen this done well, there are sub files that you can just pull out. If I need to look at Tina's board appointment date, I'm going to pull out the blue folder. So we'd like to have a really a solid system there. So, we're looking to hopefully clean up those over 900 files in the personnel office.
How long after a person is the district do you keep their files?
We keep them for years. We've had, things come up where we need to pull a file from, let's say, I don't know, the 60s. They're down in the basement, locked up in a cage. So we keep them all.
You're still on record.
Yeah, they're still on record. And actually, it's really kind of cool to be able to pull those and to help out.
Yeah.
Okay, so the Family Medical Leave Act, this is something that, we've wanted to work on. It involves a lot of work, a lot of clerical work, but it's an important endeavor and paperwork that we need to get to our employees. So the Assistant Superintendent for Personnel and Student Services should continue to work with the Jefferson Lewis BOCES Labor Relations and Legal Services Department. I've been working very closely with them. I'm cleaning this up to ensure that the district's FEMLA leave procedures and policies are being implemented consistently. The administrative assistant, Lisa, my assistant, needs training related to provisions of FEMLA. The district should provide an overview of FEMLA to administrators and supervisors as well as building secretaries, as the buildings departments are now involved in reporting. We've already started this. Lisa and I had a phone conference with BOCES a couple of weeks ago. I'm continuing to work with BOCES legal department to align paperwork. Form 380F, which is, let's say Lynn needs to take some time to care for an ill parent. That's the 380F form. There are all different kinds of forms. So that form designates an employee is guaranteed job protective leave to care for a child, parent, spouse. So that's been added to our bank. We continue to work on that. The golden rule is after 3 days of absence, FEMLA paperwork should be automatically emailed to the employee. So that's a real issue in keeping track of how many subsequent days in a row people are off. Why are they off? So it takes a lot of coordination with our building clerical staff and our principals and directors as well. All right, so ASAP and my learning plan. We had mentioned earlier, I think it was Millie, you had mentioned Envision talking with Frontline. This goes right along with that. So ASAP is our system for absences, and MLP is my learning plan. Lynn and I work on that. We work on my learning plan quite a bit. Kara maybe in transportation does as well. But we really need to clean this up, and we've started to do that as well. Lisa, my assistant's been working with BOCES on cleaning some things up in here. We have certain departments, they don't enter their absences. Food service, for example, doesn't use ASAP to enter absences. We'd like to change that and have everybody enter their absences technologically. We have some ways to help with that and some training. Work with the Regional Information Center to ensure that Frontline is correctly reflecting employees' time off. Right now, if let's say Bree logs in to take a sick day, it's 2 weeks behind. Well, that's all about to change when Bree enters a sick day. In a couple of weeks here, we're cleaning up. Lisa's working with BOCES. You'll be able to see on the spot what your bank of 6 days is, or what your vacation, balance. So that's gonna be very, very helpful. We also are.
I'm sorry, before you go, so is this ASAP part of the Envision?
No,
So
so
it's-
it's separate frontline.
Absence
Yeah, so,
management
yes.
frontline system.
yeah, so Envision is a business management software, payroll, accounting. Those two aren't talking very well, though.
Now, frontline fit in this.
Absence ASAP is through frontline.
Oh, wait, that's what I meant.
That's like the umbrella.
Okay, that's what I wanted.
Yes.
And you have to sync ASAP into Envision. Okay.
They're gonna marry each other's.
Yes.
shoes.
Yes,
Okay.
we're dating right now, but.
Which is what that audit report
Oh,
said. Yeah, part of it, yes. Part of it, yes. Okay.
So, we also, we're using timesheets in the district. We have the timesheet discussion all the time. We'd like to eliminate timesheets and streamline some things here. Again, Lisa continues to work with BOCES HR director. That's in progress. The auditor said that the district should ensure that Envision is functioning optimally to produce payment or payroll for the district. Utilize frontline absence management system ASAP to the fullest extent possible for tracking employee time off for the appropriate collective bargaining agreement. And, honoring the contract or employee handbook for each of our units. So we've got a lot of cleanup here to do. And it's a huge undertaking, but I think in the end, I know it'll be well worth it and useful to the district.
Did we request this?
Yeah, the audit, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm. The good thing is the bill for this came in less than what they were anticipating.
Do we have more money for pizza?
Oh, is that what it's supposed to be used for? So there are two more recommendations. The first one is staffing and structure of personnel. So the auditor said that a human resources coordinator is needed to ensure the interview processes, personnel and probationary tenure tracking of employees is organized and structured. Greater continuity of personnel functions. They would develop a comprehensive spreadsheet, the one I talked about, for increased tracking of vacancies, hiring, tenure, and probationary dates. They could interface with the RIC on the district's behalf to ensure the district's absence management system and professional development system are appropriately configured. They could customize a spreadsheet frontline to be used for timekeeping in the district to export into Envision. There's that marriage, or streamline the current manual multi-step process of entering this information into Envision. The coordinator could develop a spreadsheet report to be used for streamlining and professional development reporting for payroll. This would interface with payroll staff with the RIC in order to ensure that Envision is functioning accurately for the district's needs. So the BOCES staff, the auditing team, they proposed two titles, personnel specialist and a personnel assistant. So I'm going to pull up the specialist piece here. This is the job
So this
description.
would be one or the other.
Right. So this is a little bit higher level. We've got two levels here. We've got the specialist here, and then personnel assistant is more of a clerical position. All right. So basically, this position exists in a school and involves responsibility for performing various phases of personnel administration, including new employee orientations, employee benefits, payroll, and personnel transactions. All right. So supervision may be exercised over subordinate clerical staff. Does related work is required. So I gotta paraphrase that, but when I show you the next one, you'll see the different levels here. So this is the personnel specialist. A little more of an administrative flavor here with this particular position. See if I can get back to my presentation. Okay, so the personnel assistant, flip to that one. The highlights here, this work involves responsibility for performing a variety of paraprofessional level and specialized clerical tasks. So that you can see the difference here. Employee in this class utilizes a knowledge of personnel administration and exercising responsibility for the maintenance of a variety of personnel records, processing of records and forms for employees, and providing advice and assistance in matters regarding salary plans, employee benefits, and contractual provisions. So this is has a more clerical flavor to it. Now we'll get back to our presentation. Oh, I think I just closed out of it.
Yeah, I think you accidentally closed it.
Got a lot of tabs open here. Let me go back to that.
So the nice thing about those two job titles, it is, we have to decide what we want the person to do. It can be a mix and match. Indian River currently uses this structure. Beaver River currently uses this structure. On the PowerPoint that Tina shared with us tonight, basically the salary ranges from 90, now this isn't the salary, this is inclusive of retirement benefits, those kind of things, health insurance.
Got it coming up.
90,000 to 130,000. Keeping in mind that the aid on that money, because it would be run through the poster, would be 50% return to the district in year 2.
Sure.
And then that pattern would repeat itself. And so 50% of the 93,000, 45,000, 47,000 there, and then the difference with the 134,000.
Would that return be on a yearly basis?
As long as you have the services, yes. So it's a reimbursable expense, so in the first year you pay for it, then starting in year 2, you'll see the aid come in.
And the nice thing is if we decide at some point that we don't need it, then we don't add it to the BOCES contract for the following year. So it's something that we can add, or it's something that we can remove. And it's also something that we get to create the position. So if it's something we want them to have their hands in payroll and HR, and something else, we can cross-train the individuals as well.
And finally, the payroll office location. This was an interesting finding by the auditor. The district in the future may want to consider restructuring and moving the payroll functions to the business office, leaving the personnel and student services office staff to focus on personnel, human resources, and student services functions. Now, there's some pros and cons here. We're still weighing all of this. But this is a move that warrants further investigation, and we've explored thoroughly and thoughtfully by the district.
And this one right now, I'm not interested in moving forward with. Bree's new to the district. She's got IT, food service, transportation, and we need to get things running smoothly there, and then we'll consider that. But the option would be removing payroll and moving it with the business department. Bree obviously has a background with payroll, so there's a benefit there, but I'm not interested in doing that midstream. We've got other things, capital projects, FEMA, a lot of other things that we have to do right now because they're time sensitive.
And in my office too, I asked the staff and Lisa sits across from Nancy. They're constantly all day long. Lisa's work overlaps with Nancy's work and Maria's work. There's a lot of conversation out there that goes on. We all talk. When I hire somebody, I may call Maria over. This person wants to hear about benefits. I have her come in. Tamara, when she was working before she retired, would come over. It's just nice to have them there. They're a wealth of knowledge and great resources. So
The districts, when they talked about their setting, their physical structure looks different in their district office.
Right.
So their payroll and HR are all in one suite, but now they're in different spaces, thankfully in the same building.
Yes.
but different suite.
So I have 2 questions and
Yes.
1 request. Do you have an approximate figure of how many returned exit interviews you actually received?
Great question.
As opposed, so you're
Yeah.
letting go 30 people, you're getting back half, what is your, so you don't have a hard number?
I looked today, I think it's 52, Millie.
52 what?
Yeah, 52 exit surveys returned since we started, which I'm not totally happy with.
But out of how many exits?
That number I'd have to get back to you on.
Okay, because the
Yeah.
52 is really, I mean,
That
if it's
doesn't mean
52 out of
anything, you don't have a
60, it's
comparison.
like-
Exactly, that's pretty good,
Yeah,
but yeah.
so,
So that's something that we need to improve upon. And what I'd like to, some ideas that I have are, having our directors and principals help out with that. Lisa, she'll copy me on every single one. They get sent out with the return. I'd like to improve upon it. So we need to do a better job on that. Sure.
the second question is, these proposed additional position, or would be 1 person, would that person be under you?
Yes.
Okay. And then my request is, if you would be so kind to forward the descriptions for both of those positions. I'd like to read them with, pay more attention to the detail on that is. I appreciate that.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you very much. Got some upcoming dates to share. Friday, the 22nd, Saturday, the 23rd, 7 p.m. Peace Musical is going to take place in the high school auditorium. Tuesday, the 26th, we have a early go home dismissal drill. Wednesday, the 27th through Friday, the 29th, we are on Thanksgiving recess. Into December 3rd, we have the FAF committee meeting at 5 p.m. right here. And following that meeting is our regular Board of Education meeting at 6 p.m. And then Friday, December 6th, City of Watertown's 2024 Christmas Parade, which we have a float and a whole thing this year. You should all be as excited as I am. Here there's going to be a guest appearance by the Grinch himself. So everybody get excited. I'll start tonight. I've got an update from Matthew Burdick. He says last Thursday, over 70 staff members from the Watertown City School District participated in an autism inclusion training at Case Middle School. The session was presented by Kylie Schell and Kristen Gould, both behavior specialists from BOCES, and the feedback from our staff has been overwhelmingly positive. We found the training to be extremely beneficial. Looking ahead, we are planning Parabytes trainings for all paraprofessionals in the coming months. These sessions will be tailored to each specific school building and will provide aides and TAs with practical strategies to support students effectively. Additionally, I'd like to give a special shout out to Alicia Dooley and Olivia Russell, both speech pathologists, for their ongoing work. They have been providing augmentative and alternative communication AAC training to staff district-wide, equipping them with the skills to support students with complex communication needs. We already talked about the parade. That's my event for the year that I'm excited about. I'll just say, I think with boards and councils and things, disagreements are inevitable. And I'd like to commend my fellow board members for meeting conflicting viewpoints tonight with mutual understanding and respect. I think that that's something that's really, it doesn't take a lot of training to do that, but so many agencies like that. I want to remind everybody, however, that we are on the same team. And we're going to use our own personal experiences to get the final product correct. So we cross that finish line together, because at the end of the day, that's what's truly important here. So that's all I have tonight. And I'll just go back to the old Millie.
Okay, I just have 1, 2, 3, 4 things, but quick ones, real quick ones. I've been meaning to bring this up and I just keep forgetting. I apologize for that. So last year I, have been a great advocate for implementing STEM in our academic curriculum for the elementary level. And, I recommended that we look into the Kid Museum. That has not come to fruition. I was under the understanding that, Lisa and the STEM department were going to make a presentation to the board about what we have in place right now in terms of STEM being implemented at the elementary level. So if I can have when do you think that that's going to really happen?
She's ready to present, so I think it's
Perfect.
just a matter of getting it scheduled.
Okay, so if we can, Jason, if we can just get that scheduled, if she's ready, if we can have that at the next board meeting, I think it would be really important. I really believe that we need to, I personally like to advocate. I think it's a great thing. Not to beat a dead horse, but I mean, the scores just came out for Jefferson County and our school district is not where it should be in terms of proficiency for math and ELA. And again, part of our strategic plans to make sure that we increase our graduation rate. And if we don't focus and put a lot of energy and investment into our elementary education, then those children are going to be starting at the upper levels at a deficiency. So we really need to get going on that. So I'd appreciate if we could have a presentation as soon as possible.
Sure.
So we can move forward on that. I'm not sure, I'm not gonna ask you because I know you don't know the answer to this. Have we ever had a backpack program here?
We do.
Yeah.
Do we currently have a backpack
Yes.
program? Okay,
Yes, very,
perfect.
very active.
Very perfect. Okay, because somebody asked me, and I guess General Brown is starting a backpack program, and someone came to my office today for a donation. And the person who's running it asked if we had one, and I really didn't know. So it is very successful. Okay.
Partner with United
Food for
Way.
families.
I
Excellent.
want everybody to mark down that I actually knew that answer.
Yeah, that you know.
It's
and
rare,
everyone
it's
knows.
rare.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy to hear that because I actually can go back now and say that we do. I'm not sure if hospice, I asked Kathy Arden, who works at hospice, to reach out to you. I'm not sure if she did. Did she from
I haven't
hospice?
seen it yet. I
Okay.
have not seen it yet.
So she approached me and they had some thought at their board level about providing some bereavement services to our school on a voluntary basis. And I think that conversation arose as a result of our young student who passed away recently. And I told her that we do partner with other agencies.
Pivot is.
Right. And I did say that to her, and she feels very strongly that the services that they provide at the hospice level, because that is their specialty, is different. So I asked her to please reach out to you to discuss that. And I even said to her, you want to discuss with our superintendent. I'm sure if you wanted to make a presentation, he would be amenable to that. So I just want to put that out there. And the next thing is also really good. So the manager of DPAO, her name is Trisha Schwartz. She reached out to me, and I'm not really sure how this idea arose, but it arose over the weekend. And so they have 2 vans that they thought would be a really good idea if on the weekends they rounded the local restaurants and picked up all the extra food and delivered it to families that need it on the weekends. Her daughter is a senior here, and I guess through the grapevine, there are kids that are saying that they're not eating on the weekends. I mean, we know that that's a fact. But, it was, so she asked me, like, if that's something that we would be interested in. And I told her that really what she needs to do is reach out. She is trying to work the details of that. And that's a new concept for them. But, DPAO is a wonderful organization. They're willing to offer us any assistance in that, want to partner with us. I think that would be a really good idea. So I'll just would be the contact for that.
You can just email me.
Okay. And the presentations today were amazing. I really liked the library. I think just kind of took away that whole notion of banning, like none of us are into banning anything. She was extremely eloquent in describing her process and making sure that when she's getting rid of books, why she's getting rid of books. I think that's very, very good. And the library presentation, the AI presentation, thank you, Tina, for doing the whole payroll. I mean, I think there's a lot of good things and we are moving forward in a lot of good ways. I think this is the first time we've had an overt disagreement in today's discussion, but I just want both of you guys to know that I respect you very much and I hope that you respect me. And I think that as a group, we have made strides in getting things done. And mostly because we've supported our superintendent. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands that we're all here for one reason, and that's to make our community and our school district better. That's all I have.
Thank you so much. Mr. Kane.
What a great night. I will plug the Case musical Wizard of Oz one more time, just because my daughter is in it. I would get in trouble and lose daddy points if I didn't. Good luck to all of our winter sports teams. It's hard to believe we're there already, but we're starting up with that. And I just want to kind of reiterate what Millie said. Those presentations were phenomenal. One from our librarians was amazing. And to see the, you kind of have an idea of the amount of work that librarians put into, maintaining the libraries, but it is like so over the top, and we are so lucky that we have a district that has supported having a true librarian in all of our buildings, and not every district gets that. So we're fortunate there. And then our SRPs, I know they left, but as a teacher myself, school buildings don't run without our SRPs. And those people are so important. A lot of times they are the first ones our kids see in the morning, the last ones they see on their way home. They are so influential in our students' lives, and there's not enough praise that I can heap on them. So just thank you to every single SRP in Watertown and Copenhagen. And then, disagreement is the backbone of democracy. Like if we all agreed on everything, it would be actually
So
be scary.
nice.
Yeah, it would be.
It'd be scary. So, yeah, so it's, I never mean any disrespect. I mean, we are gonna have opposing viewpoints sometimes. And I don't take anything that you said as disrespect, and I hope you don't take anything that I said as disrespect.
I won't change my seat.
That'll be the telltale sign.
Yeah.
And then just good luck to Molly Dickinson as she goes
Oh,
swimming
my
this
gosh,
weekend. What an
amazing.
amazing young lady and a freshman, just a freshman. So.
Unbelievable.
John. Tina Fluro.
I have a message to read from Catherine Cook. She says, "Hi, Jason and Dr. Schmidt.
Thanks for
Here is it around the district update for 11/19. We are excited about the upcoming Case Middle School musical, The Wizard of Oz, at WHS Auditorium on 11/22 and 11/23, both showings at 7 p.m. 4 members of our Case staff, Gloria Toe, Katie Taylor, Rachel Howard, and Emily Massa, showcased their personal musical talents last weekend in an international barbershop quartet competition in Kentucky. They were featured on News Channel 7 for their achievements. Sorry. Congrats to them. And then she has a little link. Our Case Winter concert is coming up on 12/9. Tech teacher Nate Nadalin took 4 Case students to JCC on Thursday, 11/14 for the Spaghetti Challenge. And here is some information from Nate. Competition which took place on the JCC campus on Thursday, November 14th, allowed students to showcase their engineering skills and creativity, not only to build and test their prepared designs, to also engage with JCC engineering faculty and students. It was a unique opportunity for hands-on learning and innovation. We're incredibly proud of our students. In the middle school division, grades 6 through 8, students Cecilia Doe, Caden, Oganowski, Luke Peters, and Evan Webb from Case Middle School placed second, and students from HT Wiley Intermediate placed third. Athletic signing on 11/13, Case librarian Jamie Lee did a fantastic job of getting our Case library ready to host the athletic signings on Wednesday afternoon, since WHS was closed. Jerry Luffman even shampooed the library carpets. The library looked great for the event, and 7 News was there to capture the celebration. That was that. All I have to say is SRPs obviously is my heart. Congratulations to every SRP that we have. We know without them that the school would close down if we all got up and walked out for a day. So they're highly needed. Congratulations to our little sports people that were here. I think they did a great job. Our lacrosse team looked so happy to be here. They did a great job. And to all the kids, all the students, all the staff in our district, kudos to all of you for being here, and the kids to get up in the morning and get here, because 7:25 is quite early at the high school. So just congratulations to everybody.
Thank you so much, Mr. Goder. Yes, I'll be very quick because it's closely approaching my bedtime. Just to congratulate all the student athletes. I know we've said that and that the SRPs as well. I love the fact that the PowerPoint presentation included the flying cyclone logo. And as far as the discussion, board disagreements, I couldn't agree more. But just wanted to clarify for anyone still watching tonight, tabling of this policy, we didn't ask for anything to change. We just want to revisit it. Correct. That's all I got.
Cool. Last but not least.
It's all been said, but I think we're best when we deliberate. That's what we're here to do. And I think our community is fortunate to have people that care that much. I respect each one of you. It's a different lens. You don't want, it's John said it, you don't want 7 people around the table all thinking the same way with the same perspective. That's why we're here. I think it's totally comfortable. I think some people find it confrontational. I find it comfortable. I think it's healthy. I think it's good. And I thought tonight we were at our best. So it's all been said, but I would just want to say that again. And again, the presentation is very informative and helpful and always great to recognize our staff and our students. So I had the high school. Greetings from Watertown High School. The holidays just around the corner. We are very busy preparing for the season. Rehearsals for our 2024 holiday concert are well underway. All of our vocal and instrumental ensembles will take to the stage on Thursday, December 12th at 7 p.m. at the WHS Auditorium. Please mark your calendars. We hope to see you there. On Friday, December 13th, students will enjoy a special schedule as they take part in our 2nd annual Winter Blast. This is a day full of teacher-led activities like a pancake breakfast, ornament making, cookie decorating, and crafting. Backed by popular demand, Winter Blast is fast becoming a Watertown High School staple. WHS wishes everyone a wonderful and peaceful Thanksgiving holiday full of gratitude and good cheer. As always, we are grateful for the privilege of serving our district's children and their families. Best wishes, Leslie Atkinson.
Our student advisory kids today asked for that to come back and it's back.
It did start, dear Jason.
All I ever get to Dear John like.
Oh.
Nobody could top either of those comments. So we are in need of a executive session to discuss proposed pending or current litigation. Motion, please.
God.
Second.
Billy.
Billy, all those in favor? Next time.